Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford.
We are in person today because I guess this is our very first episode in person.
It is.
It is, and we're in a hotel room.
We're in our fancy studio.
The fanciest of studios. We're currently camped out right in front of the window. I have turned off the AC unit to try to hide some of the noise there, but I still hear it somehow. I don't know if that's the street or if the actual.
I think
AC
it's just
unit.
yeah.
I don't know. I had to pull a nightstand out from the wall, and it was zip tied to the wall.
Oh shit!
And so I had to finagle it. I hope nobody from the hotel's watching this right now, just to get somewhere for our mics to hook up because there was just nothing. So and Ian is sitting on a luggage holder.
When I sat down, Zach was like, "Make sure you don't fall through it." And I was
Don't fall through
it.
it. Collapse on you. I have to pick you up by your man button. But we are here. We have finagled a studio set.
Not we, Zach. Zach did all of it.
Ian showed up.
I
Ian
just showed up.
Showed up, gave a coffee order to my husband, and sent him on his way, and said, "Get the hell out of here." Yeah. So if Alistair comes in on the back, he's giving us coffee because that's what he is today, little errand boy. We are here in New York City, the wonderful New York City, Manhattan, really close to Times Square. We went and saw Scream 6 yesterday at the Empire 25 Theater, which apparently all New Yorkers know is infested with bed bugs, and nobody had the wherewithal to tell me.
Okay, wait. Zach keeps saying that, but Zach just texted me with, "I bought tickets. This is where we're going." So it was a little too late.
So Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer always talks about Dolby, right? She always sees her movies in Dolby, and she goes to all the press screenings and all of that, and she always talks about seeing them in Dolby, and so I figured that was the one that she goes to, so that's the one I wanted to go to, and every single person from New York that I told about, and I'm like, "Hey, we're going to this theater," they're like, "Oh, but they have bed bugs."
My friend that I brought with us, Liv, she was like, "Yeah, I'll go as long as it's not the bed bugs Empire Theater." And I was like,
"It is.
Well,
it is." I didn't get the bed bugs, and I did check myself thoroughly last night. I was very, very paranoid all night after we left, and thinking I might find a little bed bug or something. I don't even know what they look like, so I didn't know what I was looking for. I had to Google it.
It just looks like pepper.
I don't pepper.
Yeah, it's just they're so small you can barely use it.
I was thinking they were going to look like lice or something.
No,
that's terrible. I hope I don't.
This usually doesn't happen, but sometimes it happens where Zach is more anxious than I am, and if I'm like, "You're fine,"
I don't like bugs and shit, and I don't. And everybody already says if you see a couch on the street in New York City, don't touch it. Don't touch it because you'll get bed bugs. Now you go to the movie theater in New York City and you get bed bugs as well. So they didn't show that in Scream 6.
So, do you want to talk about Scream 6?
I do want to talk about Scream 6. We went with a group of people, right? A few friends, and Liv came. Willow Rosenboob, if anybody knows who that is, on Twitter, was wonderful and escorted us to this movie as well.
Fun so we had Fest 98 guest star.
We just had a full row basically of our people. We went out to
and
bar,
Troy, who's been on,
Troy and a couple other people.
Yep.
We basically just went with our friends. And we went to a bar right before this, right? And I had been at a bar right before Ian got in, because you got in about 5 o'clock, and I met you. We went to a bar that was right next to the theater, and I was drinking as soon as that fucking movie started. The credits went by, I was fine. As soon as the movie started, I was like, I have to piss so bad. And I leaned over to Alistair and I said, "I really need to pee." And he said, "I really need to pee." So I held on as long as I could. And then when it seemed like maybe something wasn't going to happen, right, I could get up and go pee. Got up, went and pissed, came back, and Alistair's like, "Oh, they just introduced Kirby." I'm like, "Motherfucker, that's the only thing I wanted to see this whole damn movie." And then he got up right after, and then I saw your ass get up and you went too.
I always have to pee during the movie, though.
So we do have to see it again because I need to see the part that I missed. I don't know.
I forget. I know I walked out when I was like, "All right, this seems like a spot I can walk out," but I don't
remember which part you walked out either. I know Alistair walked out during the whole apartment chase scene with the
whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Not the whole thing. No. He came in at the tail end of it, but when the girl was getting shaken off. But yeah, so I mean, we all missed a little chunk of the movie,
especially because our theater was a 10-minute walk to the bathroom.
Hey, holy shit! I could not find the damn bathroom. And the bathrooms that y'all went to are not the ones that I went to, because I didn't even see those ones, so I had to walk all the way around.
I was like, "Am I in a Scream movie? Because there's no one in this hallway and I don't see the bathroom and I could be killed."
I was about to be murdered. And my body would be on an escalator going down, and then somebody turns around and my body is
Someone turns around and is like, "Is that Zachary
They're like,
Garcia from YouTube?"
It's terrible. What'd you think of this movie overall?
I liked it. I think it was a little overhyped. I don't know why people are saying it's better than one, because it wasn't.
Are people saying it's better than one? So I have not downloaded my social medias yet. I did delete social media leading up to it. I did a fantastic job of avoiding spoilers for this thing.
Motherfucker, but so did I, and I was online the whole time.
I truly... Like I was so scared of anything getting spoiled, and like the couple times that I did reinstall like Instagram or something just to go check something, I already saw people talking about it, and so I was like, not gonna do that. Did a really good job avoiding that, so I haven't seen what people are really saying about it, and so people are saying that it's better than one.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying it's like the best one or the best sequel. Some people are saying like I'm not ready, but like it could be better than one, and I just like for me that makes the expectations so high.
Yeah.
That like, and that happened to me, like, honestly, that happened with, like, Call Me By Your Name. Like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna, like, this is gonna be devastating, blah, blah, and I was like, all right. And I mean, I cried at the end, but I just, like, overall was like, that was okay. That was
it's
cute.
the same sort of thing. Call Me By Your Name, Scream. They're the exact same
what
franchise.
I mean? It's like Twitter talking about the thing and jerking it off so much that then I'm like, oh.
So then what would your current ranking be, I guess? I think that's a good way to start.
1, 5, 4,
Oh, you got
6, 2, 3.
1, 5. See, it was easy when there were 5 movies. Okay, say it again.
1, 5, 4, 6, 2, 3.
Okay. So 3's still at the end for you. Never going to change, I guess. Never can redeem itself. I don't know what my ranking is. I'm not sure. I think today it would definitely be...
Zach's does change more often than mine.
1, 2... I was talking with Alistair yesterday.
Wait,
he
what?
He was like, I think, yeah, I know. I was talking with Alistair yesterday. He's like, I think 4 might be really up on your list. You know, you have a bunch of stuff from 4, and you watch 4 like all the time. And I didn't realize it, but I think 4 might be one of my favorites. So I would say it's going to move up for this ranking. 1, 2, 4.
This is nothing like your last ranking.
Well, today's ranking is 1, 2, 4.
I literally will tell people, no, I know people that love 3 because my co-host, his favorite movie is 3. Like, that's like my defense of 3 is that it's your favorite.
1, 2, 4, 3. And then I'd have to put 5 and 6 maybe on the same level for now. I need to see it again. That's the thing, right? Is because the last time I saw 5, I wasn't disappointed, but I was also a little angry at certain parts that like the amount of time we got our trio and that we didn't get a scene with all of them together, you know. That made me really angry the last time. But the second time I watched it, I was completely fine and I enjoyed it because I already knew going into it what the movie was. And now that I know what this movie is going into it, I feel like a second watch is going to make me appreciate it even more. But as of now, 5 and 6 are kind of like on the same. I need to see it again. I don't know, man. I guess
I just think 5 is so good. I think 5. I was talking about this. So Kirsten White, if anyone listens to Slayerfest, she's a co-host on there. Love a Kirsten White. She's been watching the movies and like giving me.
Oh, that's so fun! I love people who are watching it for the first time.
It's been great because I've had 3 different, like 2 other people who are just like social media friends who have been DMing me their first watches, and then I had a friend who was texting me his first watch of Buffy. So I was like thriving. I was like, yes, give me all of your.
I love to. What's even better is being in the room with those people while they're watching it.
And like she's been telling me like what she thinks, and she just watched 5 last night. So when I got home, I was texting with her, and her son are going to see 6 today.
Okay.
And she literally, it is insane how much her and I, because like Zach and I have a lot in common. We usually like the same things, but like our feelings on the same things we like are different, as I feel like usually where we are. Kirsten and I literally, like, she has the exact same screen ranking I do. And as she was going through, she was telling me, and I was like, we're going to have the exact same ranking. And she verbalized it better than I can because she's an actual published author with a zillion books out. She was like using them sparingly but confidently. She was like, is the perfect way to like hand it off to new characters. And that's how I feel about
5
it.
was?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think this one definitely shows us that as well, right? It shows us that that's the direction they're going with it, is they're very focused on the new rather than any sort of legacy. So I will say, what really kind of irked me was that the promotion leading up to this set it up like a legacy sequel. We got a lot of Gale. We got a lot of, like, we had Gale's whole scene in the trailer, you know?
We had all of Gale's scenes in the trailer. She's in, that's it. Like,
and then we had the museum full of artifacts and, you know, evidence. All of that is legacy stuff, right? That doesn't really have
And
a
then
lot
that's
to
where it
do
ended.
with this new cast of characters, and so I think that's the only thing that really frustrated me. We'll kind of get into our grievances a little bit later, but yeah. So let's go through some of our points here. There's no Sidney. I did hold out hope just a little bit. I was like, and it was okay if she wasn't going to be in it, but I just didn't believe one or the other until we were going to watch it, right? I'm like, they could have very well done this and
Oh, I believe
got the deal.
I DM Critical Overlord to be like, so is she or isn't she? And he was like, she is not.
Ah, okay. so she wasn't in it, and I was fine with that. I think her presence in the overall movie, I think, was I like her. She has one mention where they talk about letting Sidney know that things are happening again. She's going into hiding, right? She's taking her kids and her husband and going into hiding. And I really liked that being her only mention, right? If they're going to leave her out, it's almost like we're up to date with her. And when things like this do happen in this world, she will go and take her kids and husband on a vacation.
So
That's also in hiding.
even, and like I did like that mention,
Yeah.
but even my gripe with that, it felt so fast and so awkward. Like it felt awkward that Gale, like after being punched and she's like chasing them, like why is she saying that to them?
Yeah.
Like it just felt, there was a lot of like, my biggest gripe is the writing. My biggest gripe is that the writing wasn't all there. 5, it was there for me, but this one it was not, because it felt like it was just a lot of things happening at once. And the plot, like you said, the legacy shit wasn't
needed.
like we could have taken out the shrine.
Yes.
And it still would have worked. Almost.
I would have saved the shrine
Yeah.
for a Sidney return.
Yes.
It deserved a Sidney return. But Sidney, so like, I'm glad her presence wasn't here though. I'm glad we didn't have her. I'm glad she got to go and be away. And
Yeah.
and it also adds a little bit more depth to this world, right? That like Sidney isn't involved in everything that happens, because it kind of opens it up in that this could be happening all the time. We just really haven't like explored that yet. And if it does, Sidney's not at all of these things every time it pops up, right? It's we needed one example of her sitting it out to show us that is something that she would do, right?
And we kind of got 2 in this one, which I liked.
Ooh, my husband's here. We got coffee, baby. Ooh. Alistair, what's your Scream ranking?
Number 1, number 6,
1-6. Ooh.
number 4,
Wait, this
number
is yours.
2. Oh, fuck.
Is that green?
I got it wrong.
Wait.
That's green.
Oh, you did get me a matcha?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, number 2, number 6.
Oh,
number
two's
4,
first. Two's.
Number 5, number 3.
Hold on. I'm
Where's
confused.
1?
I gotta read this.
Thank you.
He said, I don't give a fuck about Scream. It's like, whatever my husband wants to do. We'll go to Scream for my husband. That's about it. Alistair don't give a shit.
Alistair, I can't believe you got me my matcha. Thank you. I said I didn't want to give him an order, so I didn't ask for it, but
He's going to go explore.
bye.
I'll see you.
I recommend going to the Strand if you want a bookstore.
I'll text you when we're done, too.
Okay.
Okay, we might meet you out for food.
God, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm glad her presence. I'm glad she wasn't here, but her presence was still felt in the way
Yeah.
that it was felt. I think it was completely fine.
And that tracks.
Yes. And if they were to set up another movie with her, I don't even feel like at this point they need it. Right. Like I know that they were talking about 7 being the Sidney movie, but this wasn't even the Gale movie. And
This
so,
was the Tara and Sam movie, which is fine, but
And so I'm almost at this point like finish out their trilogy.
yeah.
And we don't need Sidney just yet, you know. I would love to see Sidney return, but I just don't. Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. Core 4. I love that we call them that now. I love that they have a name. Chad gave them the name, by the way. Yeah.
The thing I'm so happy about is I was sold on them in 5. I really was. But like this, I don't know, the like Survivor, like this made them feel closer, even though they were already like very close friends in
Yes.
5. And I really like that. I feel like that's the thing that you and I like in horror, right? That's why we like don't always love like
The RV
80s.
trip. That's what I call it. I like the bonding moments because it feels like the RV trip of Buffy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it just, I enjoy those moments. And in 5, Tara was taken out of the group
Right.
early at the very beginning, right? And so we didn't really get to see her relationship with the rest of the group outside of just like the hospital or just like in a normal setting, right? When this wasn't happening. And so it was really nice seeing her at a party with people and
Yeah.
seeing Chad at the beginning, like say, hey, like, you don't need to be doing this. You don't need to go. You're inebriated. You don't need to go up with this guy.
The hottest,
you know?
sweetest
like
himbo.
it's so not. And they even call him like a meathead jock or whatever. Like later on in the movie, I'm like, don't you talk about him like that? Who the hell do you think you are, Evan Peters? Evan Peters is in this movie, by the way. Nobody can tell me otherwise.
Liv was free every time he was on because Liv was like in love with him. She kept being like, he looks like, I was like, you said that already.
He
Yes,
looks
I know
like season
does.
1 American
And he
Horror
does.
Story.
He
Evan
really
Peters.
does.
It's like you'll know exactly who I'm talking about if you've seen this movie.
And that specific hairstyle that he has then. I forgot that he even had that hairstyle. Anyway.
I think everybody was like really good in this core four at getting a little shining moment for themselves. I think Mindy was probably the only one that she still got a little moment for herself where she got to kind of like explain suspects to, or like point out suspects in the park.
But you know what
That
I was
part.
wondering? I was wondering if that literally is because she's on Yellow Jackets.
It could be.
Because season 2 comes out like
She
in a
did
few
feel like
weeks.
slightly absent from this movie, whereas like the rest of them got like pretty
Yeah.
great meat to work with.
But right, like I could see that because that's
Yeah.
new season's coming out, so they probably were filming
Yeah.
around the same time. But I did like that she at least. I like worried when her girlfriend died. I was like, oh Jesus, is she gonna be like not Mindy? Because like
Yeah.
you know that's upsetting. So I was like, oh, and I was kind of glad she bounced back, even though that was like.
Young love. Young love.
Because like they were really cute, I thought like they were cute
Yeah.
together. When I really felt like when it's like the two lesbians are like bleeding on the bed, like half dead.
I know, and they're like just waiting for like something to happen, and while everybody else is like setting up the escape route, and they're like, "Yeah, this is a lot of blood. I'll leave. I don't know."
They were both feeling a little woozy. Like I felt
Woozy.
like that would be me and Alistair, and you would be Sam, being like, "Aren't we doing this?" And we're just like,
Mindy was still like really great though in the
Yeah.
little bits that she was in it.
well, and I love when she came in at the end and she was like, "Damn it, I missed the monologue again."
Yeah, that was great. She had just been stabbed too. I can't believe she was running out like that. She was stabbed pretty deep. You know, we'll get to the killers actually. Okay, I don't even want to talk about them. Chad, I truly believe like so. Who would you say the standouts are from the core four? Like, if you had to pick one standout.
That's really hard because
Mm-hmm.
also this movie, hands up, Zach and I are not those fans, but like, you know, Melissa Barrera was not my favorite in 5. This movie completely sold me on her.
She wasn't my favorite until the end of 5.
Yes.
Throughout 5, I was like, it was like very Terra focused. I was all Terra focused
Yeah.
in 5, but they pretty much gave us the end of Scream 5. Sam throughout this whole movie, right? Like a tinge of like a little bit of crazy, but like also she's just doing her shit, and she attacks a girl at one point. I love that. I'm like
Yeah.
beat her ass.
I was very much like, yeah, kick her ass.
I love a fight. I hit people, so I loved that. I really did like her. I think they did her justice in this one. She felt very main character and not shoehorned in main character. So I'm glad they stuck with that because I was also theorizing that they would focus on Tara Moore.
I thought they might too.
Because she was such a
like a
standout.
bigger
Yeah.
star,
But I'm
yeah.
glad they stayed course with Sam because Sam did deserve it, right? And it was sort of the Sidney track, who the killer turns out to be. It's the family of her ex-boyfriend. Like it's very much on track.
The thing they did with her that I liked is, and I mean, they do this with Sidney by 2 as well, but Sidney's not quite as much as Sam was, but Sam was very much like, fuck this, like
Yeah.
immediately. And like, I love the way she fought back. Like, I
Yes.
really, really genuinely loved that. And like, I feel like that's right up our joint alley.
Well, I think she is the don't fuck with the daughter of a serial killer, right? I think that's through and through with Sam, and I love that they've stuck with that for her character.
yeah, if you're gonna do it, you gotta, yeah.
And we do have Tara out in the real world, and so that was really nice seeing her out in the real world, not just in a hospital
Yes.
and on crutches and in a wheelchair and all with stitches that are pulling apart as she's trying to escape. We got to see her interact with other people and, out in the world. It was just really, really nice, and I think that obviously she was great. And I thought she was going to be more of the standout in this just because she's Jenna Ortega, but I think she even came second and third to Chad and Sam because I think Chad was... He had a lot of shining moments in this. I was very hyper focused on Chad, and I don't know, maybe it's just because he was very cute.
I was gonna say, also we're horny for Chad, so like,
But I think he was just like so lovable in this movie, and I just loved watching him in this movie. And I was pretty into the Tara Chad love story.
I will say, so Twitter had torn apart the trailer, and they were very close to each other in the trailer. I was like, I won't like that. I will not like that romance if that happens. But then I did like it.
I did. I liked it. There's a moment at the end, towards the end, where they're kissing in a theater. They've had their first kiss. Core 4 is great. We get Kirby Reed back. Just super stoked for it. Wig did not do it for me in this, and I thought it was gonna be fine too, because all the trailer and stuff, I was like, it's really not that bad.
I really didn't think it was that bad.
I think it screamed Wig. It was screaming Wig. Okay, it moved as one. It did not. it was like clay. It was like made out of clay. It just moved as a singular piece.
I feel like that's how my hair moves.
Fucking wild. I did love Kirby in this. I think Hayden Panettiere, remember, she has been out of it for a little while, right? She's been out of the game for a little while. This is kind of her first acting return. And you can tell she's like a little nervous in it. It felt like she was a little nervous doing it. But I just love seeing Kirby, and I'm glad that we had her in here. I know that you were. What are your thoughts on her inclusion?
I thought it bums me out that you could have taken her out of the movie and it wouldn't have mattered. Mm-hmm. That bums me out. And I don't love that she was kind of there as a is she or isn't she?
Yeah.
I feel like we don't need to do that with the characters we already know. Like, I sure do that with all the new characters, but I don't like doing that with like a character that survived. Like, I think that's stupid.
That was so beloved too, right?
Yeah. Like, I just feel like if you're gonna bring her back, like, have her be charming, don't make it like, ooh, she might be a Ghostface. Like, I did not like that. And for me, that distracted from her, because it was just like, it felt like that was her only purpose.
It did feel like that, didn't it? Yeah. And like her whole journey being a detective didn't ring true to me either. I didn't see her as a detective. I don't see her as like, I mean, clearly she is, because it's written into the franchise now. So, but my headcanon rewrite goes back to the episode we did about like, where would Kirby be? And she would be doing something to do with films, like podcasting, or like some sort of like, she would be going to these movies to review them, right, and talk about them, and bring out like a true crime aspect and a real world like viewpoint to these movies. That's like truly what I would see, and that would have come in really useful in solving something, rather than like detective felt like a really easy way to write it. That was just kind of like, we can do the detective, sure, Kristen Ramsey, arson investigator.
Do you know, that got spoiled for me, but Scream 6 didn't. The new episode of Wolfpack got spoiled for me, but not Scream 6.
I don't think I'm worried about getting spoiled by Wolfpack at this point.
I was like, I just like saw it. I was like, I guess that's a spoiler. All right, whatever. But yeah, I wasn't upset about it. But yeah, no, she also, because she was is she or isn't she, I felt like she didn't get like, she didn't quite, like, that could have been anyone.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be Kirby. You know what I mean? That could have just been, like, random new cop character that does die.
The only thing that made it Kirby was some of the lines, right? And some of the history that she brought into it through some of the dialogue, right?
And that it's, like, Hayden Panettiere.
Yes, and that it's Hayden Panettiere. But, like, truly, it could have been anybody in that role. And it didn't feel like a role that was tailored specifically to Hayden Panettiere's Kirby Reed.
Yeah.
Which should have been. It should have been, like, she should have had a career that was tailored to that character. Some sort of, like, I feel like the thinking on it wasn't too deep, and that kind of bummed me out a little bit.
Well, so that's kind of how I feel about the whole movie. I think it suffers from Scream sequel syndrome, right? Because like I feel like a lot of the issues I have with this are the same issues I have with Scream 2.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, either all the new characters die, we're still at the same status quo, and like there wasn't much story. But like Gale and Sidney, are Gale and Sidney, and like they progress a little bit. This felt like it was more progressing the core 4, which is great.
Yes.
Because I'm sold on them 100%, but it felt like there wasn't much else to the story.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us into like Gale. And Gale's, I mean, you got the Gale shirt on. Gale's the big one for him. He loves himself a Gale. So I want all of your thoughts on Gale.
Okay. One, I don't love that she regressed. Okay. I don't know why they had to make her become like 5 for me. I love 5 so much, and 5 for me feels like Gale and Sidney's final adult form. Like that's who they are. That's who they are going to be. They've had their like character progression, and this is who they are.
And it felt like such a mature evolution as well, didn't it?
And it felt like it made sense, especially after 4, because 4 they both were more like confident, and then by 5 they were 100% confident. Mm-hmm. And like this Gale felt like, I don't understand why we backtracked. my friend Doug said that he felt like they just needed a line of her talking about Dewey to like explain why she backtracked, that she's like grieving and that's why she's like leaning into like old school Gale,
which makes so much sense, right? But none of that was explained.
None of that was there.
Yeah.
Like,
and then I also saw someone say that maybe Gale did that. Maybe Gale went ahead and wrote the book anyway as a way to kind of, because there was so much misinformation out there about Sam. Yeah, and they wanted to control the narrative, but that still doesn't ring like real to me. I think the only explanation would be that she's in a spiral moment and she's kind of regressing because that's her way of still clinging to Dewey, right?
Yeah.
And I would completely buy that. But like, tell us that, because what it felt like is that we were getting a lot of like, here's where she is now. Where is she now? Gale Weathers edition. But like, I almost feel like we didn't even get any insight into how Gale was feeling, her psyche, none of it. We kind of just saw her, which this is the first movie we just see her. We don't know really what she's feeling, where she is in life mentally.
yeah, and that's like, for me, that's like not doing Gale justice. Like, for her to be mean, for her to be like, this felt like Scream 1 and 2 Gale, where it's like, she's a little bit slimy and she's like writing shit in her book. Like, what I forget what Sam says specifically, but like something about Sam being
unstable.
Unstable,
yeah.
right.
And those are direct quotes she
Yes.
said.
And like, yes, because I did, that was a funny bit when Gale was like, that's taken out of context. She's like, that's a direct quote.
Yeah.
And I didn't like Tara punching her. Like, I get it. It's like, haha, it's a throwback to, but like, for me, Gale's already past that.
And it felt like they maybe even wrote Gale in the way that she did so they could get like a moment like that, a little callback moment, which we just didn't need. I was okay with it. I thought it was funny. I was fine with
I
Tara
liked it when
punching.
Gale, like,
I
I loved her like Matrix style. Like, Gale's just like,
I love that Tara
avoiding the
did
punch.
it. And because Tara's a little badass too.
Also-
She's lucky it wasn't a crutch. Like, it could have been a crutch.
Also,
Could've been
like,
worse.
very happy for like accurate Hispanic representation of like them being the like ones ready to fight.
Will hit.
Yeah.
Will hit. Okay, so just don't fuck with us. Don't fuck with the daughters of serial killers. Yeah, I think I'm like with you. I truly don't. And we're going to see it all over Twitter, the defense of the character regression and why it makes sense and all of that. And good for you if you think it did. I'm not taking that from you, but I truly don't like the regression. I did not like it. She is so rich. She is so famous already. She has a fucking morning show. She's still out reporting. She's doing all of this stuff. She does not need to write a book for attention anymore.
Yes.
She's done that. And she was going to write the Dewey book, and she hasn't written
And
the
like-
Dewey book. Where was that?
And also, I also don't love
Yeah.
that Gale is the reason they get trapped. That like the cop tricked
She
Gale.
just doesn't fit
Yeah.
into this movie. That's the problem I had with it, right? Is it felt like her inclusion was just to kind of bring fans back. But honestly, had she been left out, I still would have come to watch this movie. I was still invested in these new characters. And it just felt like, I guess I'm happy. I'm just happy to see her. Always happy to see her.
Also, there's a thing to be said for like the way I think a straight guy would view Gale versus how gays view Gale. And how even other women would view Gale. And this felt very much like a straight guy being like, yeah, that's what Gale's like.
I truly thought we were going to get a Kirby Gale team up.
Yeah.
I thought we were getting Scooby-Doo, Kirby Gale team up. They showed us that in the press image. It was our expectation. So shame on us.
Because even
Shame on us for thinking it was going to happen.
They even did the thing where they trick us in the trailer. Kirby doesn't even talk to Gale. And like in the trailer, when she's like, we have a certain history, you think her that like they edit it so it looks like her and Gale talking, but she's talking to Sam.
I was gone for that part. I'm very disappointed.
Oh, yeah. She
Fuck.
when they introduce her, that's when she says that, but she's talking about Sam because and then they say they went to high school together.
Lord Jesus. It just, Kirby Gale, guys. Kirby Gale. You got both of them in this movie. Come on.
Like they should have been the way Gale and Sidney were at the end of 5. I would have liked Kirby and Gale like coming in at the end to help. Like I also don't love sidelining these new legacy characters. Like
just don't include it. Well, so Kirby also, because like Dewey's out of it, right? So like Gale's needed a team up partner, which would have been Kirby.
Yeah.
And they would have done the Dewey. I mean, they could have even made out. I don't know what happens after their friend dies. The Ghostface reveal was fun. When I realized it was not a legacy movie, like they kind of like, I don't know, that my expectations told me it was going to be.
Yeah.
Then I was fine with it. I was like, okay, it makes sense in terms of like their story. It wasn't the most thrilling, but I don't know. It was fun.
I mean, I didn't mind the Ghostface reveal. I was glad that her boyfriend did not die and was not involved, because I always think about that. Like that's my critique of 2, right? Every single person that's a character dies.
Yeah.
And I don't need that, because for me, someone like Judy is a good character to carry over that can die in a later movie. Mm-hmm. And we don't need everyone new to die all the time. Because I like caring about, and that's what Scream does well, right? You care about the characters. We're invested in these characters. So I was glad that the boyfriend she was like, I got to send you away because I don't know you that well.
Yeah.
And he went away, and then he brought the cops. I thought that was a good use of a charming, handsome boyfriend who also I have a crush on from the other 2. He is absolutely the way he's like, "You all right, baby?" It's the way he talks is very annoyingly does it for me.
I don't know. So we got the reveal that it was 3 ghost faces this time, which
like
I
there being
feel
3?
should have been a bigger deal.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like a big deal, I think when it was Billy's mother in 2, it felt natural because we kind of had heard about her, but she was gone. She was kind of there was this air of mystery around Billy's mother from the first movie. And so it made sense that she would come back, and it would be, I don't know, she would come out of nowhere. And I was completely fine with that. But this one, it felt so his whole family just decides to gang up and kill Sam, even though her boyfriend was killing all these other people.
Yeah. Also, I still don't understand. They said they spread the misinformation, and they called it misinformation.
Yeah.
But then we're still blaming Sam. So I was I don't understand. They said they spread misinformation that she did it, but then they're killing her because she.
It was a little strange, and it was a little strange that they would set up the shrine to Ghostface. So I guess all of that was Richie's stuff. And Richie had acquired all of that stuff over the years, and so they set it up. And
which, all right,
but
sure,
sure, but again, it should have been that felt more legacy and something to play into a legacy storyline. And this wasn't a legacy storyline. This was a revenge sort of thing again.
Well, yeah, I just because it should be cooler. It was cool watching Gale and Kirby look at shit from that happened to them.
Yeah, that scene was great.
Yeah, but it's a shame that that's it. You know what I mean? It should have been
I thought it was just going to play into a grander sort. I thought the movie would be grander, right? That museum shot in the trailer convinced me that this movie was going to be a grand scale master plot from somebody, right? Yeah. I truly thought it was going to be Kirby. I thought it was going to be something to do with I don't know, just a line of ghost faces, and I don't know. It was my own expectations, but I thought the ghost faces were fine. Fitting into this trilogy, it's great. It's great. Everybody acted fine. Perfect. Let's get into some of our favorite scenes, though, because I feel like we've been a little negative on this.
I was just thinking, people are going to get mad at us, and then you're going to change your opinion in a week, and I'm not, and then I'm going to be the only one left.
I'm possibly going to change my opinion after I see it. It just depends on how I feel after I see them. I'm not changing my opinion based on other people's getting mad at me or anything like that. It depends on what I see. What are you laughing at? It depends on what the fuck I feel when I watch the movie again.
Your ranking was just totally different earlier.
Oh my gosh. My ranking changes every other day.
I know.
Oh my god. This is why we don't record together, guys. This is why we don't, because his laughing ass. I'm Hispanic. I'll hit him. I'll do. So all of my problems with some of the characters, it was more with the legacy. My problems came more with the legacy characters, right? But do not be fooled. I absolutely adored this movie. I did love it. I thought this movie was fantastic when I realized it wasn't a legacy movie, and that it was the second chapter. Of course, it was the second chapter to this trilogy, but I convinced myself. Shame on me.
But I mean, also it suffered from the same promotional problem that Halloween Ends suffered from, where David Gordon Green afterwards was I never promoted this as Laurie's movie, and it's yes, you fucking did. What are you talking about?
That's what I think. I think it was promoted as the Lexi sequel, it was promoted as the Gale movie. It truly was. Listen, it just was, and we didn't get that. Now,
Her call shouldn't have been in the trailer.
Taking that out, you can really appreciate this movie. This movie was done in less than a year. It looks fucking expensive. It looks pretty grand. The city landscape was wonderful for this movie. I loved it for this movie.
I did. Well, I mean, but
Okay.
like, afterwards we're talking, like, my friend Liv, who lives
Yeah.
here. It just never looked like New York for me. Like, for me, that never, like,
Canada, eh?
there were too many trees. Like, everywhere they were, there were trees in the street. And I was like, where the fuck are they? Because, like,
Where are the trees? I'm looking for a tree.
right, you're looking out the window right now and you don't see
I
any.
see a bush right there. It was. I loved I loved that they were in a city though. I loved
Yeah.
that they were out of fucking Woodsboro.
Yes.
You know, I thought all of the kills and all of the chase scenes and all of it was like really good, right? It was promoted as like the bloodiest in the franchise or something like that. And I still think one was pretty fucking gnarly, and I don't think any of them have really beat one. I think 4 came.
I was gonna say, I
close.
do think 4 came close.
Yeah, but one is still was like gnarly. But this one was fucking fun, man, and it was creative and it was playful. Like it felt so playful, and I loved that. I love it when the filmmaker it feels like the filmmakers are playing with space, with the characters, with the chases and the phone
Zach,
calls.
I gotta
and
say, I
all
was
of
looking
that.
forward to hearing you say you liked them playing with space. 'Cause I thought they did a good
loved
job.
it.
And I was like,
Loved
Zach's
it.
gonna say that. in
I was
recording.
really excited. I remember when I saw the first image of while they were filming of somebody had taken a picture of the set, and it was like the alleyway where they do the ladder climb. And I was like, some shit's gonna go down with the window, and I'm going to love it. Right? I'm going to love this shit, and I did. I absolutely did. What were some of your favorite scenes?
I did think the ladder chase scene was like great.
Very well done.
Although I'm a big proponent of like, if someone survives the one thing awful, let them live. So I was like, the girlfriend just survived getting like.
Oh no! We didn't have near enough deaths. She had to die. She had to die.
Well, no, I feel like she should have just died when she got stabbed. Is what I
No.
feel.
She had to die the way she died. I loved it. I loved it.
no,
Yeah.
I think
Make
that-
it even more gruesome.
I feel like that's like too cruel, but
I don't give a fuck.
because I also think she was great. Like I thought her and Mindy had very good chemistry in like the few scenes they were together. I thought that like was a really fucking good scene, and like it kept tricking me where I was like, oh, is she gonna make it? Because like her and Sam do lock hands, but of course, like how can Sam pull her up if she's
Yeah.
falling? But once her and Sam like grabbed each other, I was like, oh, she's gonna make it, and then no, and like. It was like so brutal because it's not even like she just falls; like she smooshes her head on
Well, I
something.
love that it was a whole ordeal. You know, when they hear. So I thought it was going to be the shot of Ghostface at the door. That's what they were all looking at, right? When we saw the images of them in the living room, all next to each other. But so like I guess one of their roommates is like screaming, and they're hearing her like it sounds like she's getting murdered, and then Ghostface comes out and chases them all into a bedroom, and like all of that shit was so fun and great, and like. The closeness of being in an apartment
Right,
and having
'cause,
somebody
like-
like literally next door. They even play with the idea of a neighbor. Like there's a guy that Sam is hooking up with, and so they gather themselves into a room, and the guy has a fucking ladder. It's like good for him. He had a ladder, and so he like pushes the ladder.
To be fair, I had a ladder in my apartment because I lived with a guy who works
for
on like
this
TV
reason,
and film sets.
for
And he had a
this
ladder,
reason,
so
and and they just connected windows, and everybody climbed over on the ladder. It was so tense.
Yeah.
I was worried for Mindy a little bit.
I was too.
I was like, are they gonna like pull a ladder out from under Mindy? Is Mindy gonna fall?
I was very worried that like
Yeah.
the girlfriend would get murdered and then Mindy would be the one trapped on the ladder that dies on the ladder.
Yeah.
Especially because like both of them were like just bleeding out. Like
Who was dead in the bathtub? That was the guy that the girl was hooking up with, right? That Mindy sees in the bathtub.
Oh, I thought it was the Ghostface in the beginning that gets killed.
Oh, it might have been. Yeah. See, this is the thing. I need to go see it again. I'm already forgetting.
I only know that from the trailer because that was what people were like. Oh, they
Okay.
spoil a death in the trailer.
Okay. That would make more sense then.
I do like when she's like, "Oh, he's dead."
It was just fucking. It was like wild. I loved
The
that
panic.
whole thing.
That's the like we were ragging on the movie, but the thing that all of the scenes were like tense. All the chase scenes were great and like especially in an apartment where it's crowded, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you escape if like Ghostface is this close to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like how are you getting away? Even if you can fight back, like
I do think this movie is going to have a lot of like franchise favorite scenes for a lot of people, and I think this is going to definitely be one of mine. I just love some shit like that, climbing out onto a roof, out of a window, out of anything. I love scaling something. It would have been cool to see her like clinging to like the side of the building, trying to get away or something. I don't know. It was fucking like it was pretty rad. The opening was you weren't big on the opening.
I didn't like the
Okay.
opening.
I loved it. I thought it was pretty cool.
This would only this opening would only rank above 4, which I think is the worst opening.
I really liked the idea of I mean, because I can picture that happening here. Like, that has happened to me here when you're trying to find a subway and you're like, am I looking at the right subway? Am I supposed to be on this subway? Or is this the building I'm supposed to be? I come out of this, the first day we were here, I came out of this hotel and I was looking at the Google Maps. And you look down at the Google Maps on the satellite image and everything is so, like, on top of each other that you can't even really tell where you are.
My phone will, like, zigzag.
And it tells me I'm way down there. Yeah. And so I'm like, well... So do I go right here?
Wait, I once was late for a job interview because of that. Because my GPS thought I was on 2 streets over, and it was like, "You are here," and I was like, "What? I'm not here." And I had to call to be like, "I can't find the office." It was just my GPS thought I was 2 blocks over from like where I was.
Well, and it makes it such a realistic and genius just a way to like lure somebody into an alley. I never walk into an alley, right? Whoever that guy is could walk out of the alley. He can meet you outside of the alley.
You know what's funny is every time people are like who's walking into the alleys? I live close to Philly and I go out in Philly. In Philly, you have to walk through alleys like that to get to other bars. Like that's how you like get around.
It wasn't the craziest alley either. It was like pretty open. I was surprised to look because I thought it probably would have been like a little bit more like covered with like dumpsters and stuff like that. But you could pretty much see through it.
That's how they are in Philly, but they're that dark as well. So it's like I'm always like, this is where a vampire would kill someone in Sunnydale.
I thought it was so good. And Samara Weaving, just her being on it at all in this movie at all, and like just in that little scene, I fucking loved it. I loved the outfit that she was in. I thought that was great. So cool.
That body is ridiculous,
amazing, and they let her have her accent. So she just had her accent.
It's funny because when I first heard it, I was like, why is she doing? Oh, right, that's how she talks.
Why's she doing a bit? She can't. She can't just speak normal. I feel ready or not, Samara Weaving is what he's expecting.
I feel like they were just like, yeah, you got like 10 lines. Just you do your normal.
She's just, I fucking love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love that she was the opening kill. And it just was so fun that she is, waiting for a guy at the bar and he can't find the restaurant. So she goes out to see if she can see him. And you can't miss her. She's in a bright yellow shirt, right? But she keeps getting lured closer and closer into this alley until she's in it. And then she's fucking murdered. And then Ghostface takes off his mask, and I was like, this is going to be a fucking wild movie. This is going to be crazy. He just took off his mask right in front of everybody. This is wild.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to be a grump. This is where it suffers from sequel syndrome to me.
Okay.
Because, like, for me, that felt like 4. It was like, all right, but I'm like, what am I concentrating on then? If, like, she is dead in 2 seconds, like, I felt that should have been longer. I do think
it should have been longer. Yes, I'll agree with that.
Her death is cool because it's abrupt, but there should have been more leading up to that. I felt like a little bit more of, like, her being disoriented, her maybe seeing Ghostface and running, and then she gets killed. Like, I don't know. I just felt like I wanted a little bit more meat there because I do agree that is, like, a fun new way to have Ghostface trick someone, like, on a dating app and, like...
I think that's what a lot of horror movies suffer from these days is how quick things are. Like, they will come up with such a great idea like this, but they'll do it really fast.
Yeah.
And a lot of horror movies do this, right? Like, whereas if you went back to even the early 2000s, this would have expanded into some sort of, like, her trying to climb up a fire escape or, like, trying to get away somehow. Or
it might have made it too long.
It would have, maybe even too long, which would have been fine. Listen, because this felt like very... Helen Shivers, very close to like safety, right? And she just a few steps from safety, actually. Like they could have done the thing where he does something with her vocal cords, so she can't talk like Casey Becker couldn't, right? She couldn't scream,
right?
And so she tries to get out of the alley, but then she's like dragged back in and killed like literally feet from people. So it was a little quick. And the stab was like literally just like, and then I thought he slashed her throat, but then her throat wasn't slashed.
I think he stabbed her here, I think.
Okay. I think. She died really quick. So that was my only little criticism about that, but just extend it, I guess.
I made this reference to Alistair yesterday. And did you see X-Men The Last Stand? I can't remember if you said you
probably, yeah.
It's the one with Fonda Johnson as like Dark Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
She kills everyone. Yeah. It's terrible. It's a terrible movie. And I love X-Men. X-Men is like my second. It's like Buffy, Scream, and X-Men. And like, I hate that movie so much because the beginning is like, for me, the beginning is you see young Angel cutting off his wings. Then you cut to, I don't even remember what the fuck. It cut to, I think, Jean Grey as a kid. And then you cut to something else. And it's all like quick 2-minute scenes. And it's like, what are we focusing on? And I remember that opening. I was so excited for that movie. And I remember being like, I think I'm going to hate this movie. And then I did hate the movie. This, luckily, I didn't hate it. But like, for me, that was immediately like older sequel syndrome where it's like, she's dead. She's introduced. She's dead. This guy's Ghostface. That should be a big deal. Now he's dead. And like,
so what I really loved about it was, I do think it should have been a little bit longer, but what I really loved is that in a different way from the rest of the Scream movies, this one, this opening led into the rest of the movie. Like he takes off the Ghostface mask, and we follow him kind of down the street. He bumps into Tara, and I'm like, oh shit, he knows Tara too. And then he goes home. Like we follow it. We track the whole thing. It leads into the rest of the movie, whereas the rest of them were a very isolated like opening, and then we get the opening title, and then we like pick up a couple scenes later, a day later, whatever have you, you know.
I also think it would have been cool if that happened halfway through. Like, if there had been 5 Ghostface running around and 2 of them were a team. And
could you imagine if
they
they would have just opened following Tara down the street on Halloween night? I would have like thought, oh fuck.
I would have been like, she's yeah.
Like something fucking crazy.
But you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I just think it would have been cool if like there were a bunch of Ghostfaces and like the 3 were mad at the 2, so they kill the 2 halfway, and that's like or maybe we don't know there's that many going around, but like halfway through, Tony Ravioli, is that what his name?
Tony Ravioli. That's his name now. Honestly, I don't remember any of their names, so I'm proud of you for remembering that.
He's
much.
in Spider-Man.
Okay. There you go.
But I do think that would have, for me, it didn't have as much of a punch because it did the thing that I always complain about, where it's like, I don't care if this guy dies because he's Ghostface, so like fucking kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have been a cooler twist to happen, I think, later.
What if they just had? You know what would have made it like really fucking crazy is, speaking of Spider-Man, if they Ghostface had taken off his mask and it was fucking Tom Holland or some other like big time actor, right? That would have been really fucking cool. And that would have been like, because then that would have been considered the opening kill as well, you know. I don't know. I fucking thought this scene was stellar. I was pretty damn happy with it. It's pretty exciting. I really want to go see it again. I think maybe we should. I just would need to convince my husband. Okay.
Alistair might choose both of us.
He might. Very well might.
Even though he liked it better than both of us.
I know. He liked it better than one.
He was ready to kill us.
Crazy
in the cab.
motherfucker. The subway scene I thought was fucking cool too. I thought that shit was like really good, and because I figured she was on her own
We said that when we watched
from
it.
the trailer,
Yeah.
yes, but I figured she was like running through the subway by herself. In the movie, she's separated from them because the crowds are so big that she gets separated from everybody, and she is with Evan Peters, and
Deck champion.
they're on the Evan Peters, and they're on the same subway car, and she's like looking at. Meanwhile, knows it's fucking him, so she was right.
She was. I do like that she was right.
And it's like it was so funny. This was such a funny movie too. Like even though it was like so tense, because
Yes.
we knew from the trailer that Ghostface was going to like do something to her. That it still was funny that she kept like giving him looks, and like he would look up at her, and she'd be like.
Yes.
To like move away.
And I did like at the end when she's, oh, I was right.
It's great stuff.
That would be me.
That's, you know what, I take it back. They gave her some shining moments in this. Good for Mindy.
Yeah, like I just feel like I kept thinking of us in this movie, and like I would definitely be the Mindy that's like, aha, I was right, Zach, and you'd be like,
perfect.
all right, whatever.
And I killed you.
Yeah.
So you weren't all the way right, were you? Me and Alistair were the killers the entire time. It was... Because then it was like a double like tense moment, because you had
Yes.
the subway car full of with Sam and Tara and her boyfriend, and you know that little group, and Chad, and you had a bunch of ghost faces on that one, right? And then you cut back, we kept cutting to Mindy, and Mindy had her own ghost faces on that one, and it just was like,
Yeah.
this Mindy is dead. I was like, Mindy
Yes.
is fucking going to die, and I'm not gonna be able to handle this.
Yeah.
And she's alone, and she's gonna be with everybody, and then she gets stabbed, and
He like covers her mouth like
I was
ugh.
so sure that she was dead.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you something about these ghost faces. They are terrible at killing anybody. They like did not kill anybody. They killed the guy at the beginning. They didn't even kill Samara.
That's true.
I kind of think Mindy should have died there. I'm glad she didn't, because I'm glad, you know what, we'll get more Jasmine Savoy Brown, right? But it would have been like a wild fucking
I
death
think
scene.
Chad should have died. I do think Chad should have died. I don't want him to die because I love him so much, but I think especially because that's the second time he's been stabbed that much.
Yeah.
Like,
Some of these scenes like felt like the stakes weren't. It did feel a little bit like a low stakes movie because people weren't dying and we weren't getting anybody. Like we were getting these big setups for like imagine had she died in that subway car in the way that she did. everybody would be fucking talking about that, and
Well,
nobody would have ever shut up about it for
and
like
the thing,
years and years to come.
The thing is, like, I think back to like the Judy West scene. That was cruel, right?
Yes.
Like that is like heartbreaking and cruel, but like fucking good. And like, you know, Judy is a character that survived a previous movie, and that's her son. And like, you know, even though Judy wasn't a character that was like, you know, you loved, it was like, no, she's this like nice mom, and like she's just getting dinner for her son, and like, you don't want people like that to be murdered, you know, like.
Well, it played very much like this one too. It was like that one was very long and drawn
Yeah.
out, and we were like, it gave us the tension because it was so long and drawn out. And this one was the exact same way in that we knew we were dreading something was coming, and we knew it. But then she didn't die, and I'm like, well then, you know,
glad she didn't
Is
die.
this world, you know, that dangerous? I don't know, because she got stabbed in the stomach, and he like, you know, was twisted, and you know, she's fine. Fucking crazy that he takes her out of the subway car too, and he's like, help her, please, call the police.
But I guess that was like to like so he could be like, look, I
know it's funny. It's good stuff. That scene was so great. I loved the subway scene. That's going to be one that people talk about for a very, very long time. Do you want to just a couple little moments before we get to Gale's chase scene? I loved. Again, I think we already talked about it, but Sam like getting into a fight on TikTok with somebody, like about to punch somebody. And
I
then
was
on
like,
the
no,
news-
punch that girl in the
Then
fucking
on the news
face.
later, it's like #1 suspect.
Crazy person. I was like, that girl threw a drink in her face. Like, fucking, she deserves to be hit.
#1 suspect. Gale's reporting on it. I loved the Kirby Mindy scene where because we were all waiting on it for something. They have a little moment together or something like that, and I didn't think it was going to be as drawn out as it actually was. But they like have a full sit down scene where they sit next to each other and like, you know, quiz each other on movies.
And you know what I liked about it? Because like them saying the same things at the same time is a little like cheesy, but I like it.
loved it, yeah.
But I like that they weren't always saying the same thing. Like I liked that.
They said the first one the same, right? The original.
And then what was it?
And
Friday
then
the 13th. They had different answers.
Kirby's was. I love that we got some. You know, we know a little bit more about Kirby now.
Yeah,
It
because she
was,
said she had a crush on Corey Feldman.
Was it the final Friday?
Yeah, because she said
Okay.
she had a crush on Corey Feldman.
That's
and
so
I,
great.
I forget which one Mindy says. If she
I love
says
that
it
they
first.
said that Kirby's 32. Like they acknowledged that, and it makes me feel. It was like, I forget. Like you know, me and Kirby were in like you know the same high school, same couple years apart. You know.
Yeah, I did like Gale being like, "Aren't you a child?" And she's like, "I'm 30." Like,
She was. So if she was, that movie came out in 2011. So I would have been a year younger than her. But I'm 28.
right. So technically, the math doesn't add up, but that's fine.
Kirby is 29, guys. 29. Kirby's 29. I love that moment. I love that they had a little scene together. And I was good with that. I know you wanted them to kiss, but I'm glad they didn't. I guess we can go to Gale's chase scene. I want to hear all your thoughts about it because I know you've got a list.
All right. Well, I do think this is a fantastic chase scene. I want to read something to you.
Oh, he's written it down. He doesn't just have a list. He's got it written it down.
That hold on, let me see. Where is it?
Gale's texting him, so he asked her how she felt after the chase scene, and
So I will not say who.
Nah.
Someone told me that someone saw an early screening and that the nurse did not say she has a pulse.
do you know? It felt like there was a couple moments in this movie where
right?
where somebody would have died, and it felt like the filmmakers
like,
did
just
the
were
Wes
like,
Craven thing. That's like, oh well, let's just keep Dewey alive just in case, right?
Right. It did. It really did.
Because that happened with Chad. It happened with. I feel like Mindy's was a little bit more thought out that she was going to live.
Yeah, like, I
but
think
it's
that was on
still,
purpose.
I could still believe that maybe that was like a last minute thing. But Gale's, I could definitely see that. All they needed was a little bit of dialogue added.
Right. And like the dialogue was like she survived because of added lines.
Listen, I thought her ass was dead.
So,
I was like, this is it. I was all the way because we had recliner seats. I sat up and I was on.
I was
like-
so mad
I
that he
like
was far
this.
away from me, 'cause I was like-
we were supposed to be sitting next to each other. I guess I had my orientation for like the seating wrong because I thought you were going to be to this side of us.
I don't want to take anyone else's
I
seats.
don't fucking know. But so I was like all the way forward on this fucking recliner. I could feel Alistair's hand on my back, and then I felt Melissa because she had big claws on her fingers, and she put her hand on my back and was rubbing my back with Alistair. And so they were both rubbing my back, and I was just sitting there stressed.
I literally, so Troy was sitting next to me, and I went like this to Troy, and my friend Liv is going like this to me.
I
'cause
kept
she knows I'm
looking over.
upset.
I kept looking over to Troy because he was like the tallest one, and I could see him, and he was just like, like shaking his head like he was fucking convulsing.
Troy was like, I could feel your energy of how upset you were, Ian. I was like, oh, I hope I didn't ruin the movie for you. And he was like, no.
You heard audible gasps in the theater. Like people were, you know.
So because I'm unhinged and we know this and I've discussed this.
Yes, yeah.
I like to make the figures for the like very silly pictures. Go like the photos I did of Scream Miss because they get like 20 likes and they take a long time. Doing those photos, I looked at the outfits, right? Like I even told Zach I like updated their shoes because I saw like a far away shot from like a new still. I knew every outfit Gale wore in this, so in my brain I was like, as long as that workout outfit in her apartment isn't the last outfit she wears, she will live. It was the last outfit she wore. As soon as she walked up, we'd already seen her in the blue. As soon as she walked up in the pink, I gasped because I was like, fuck, the last outfit left is her blue workout outfit. She's gonna die.
That is very unhinged. That's crazy horror movie fan logic.
But I was right.
That's
like
queer,
like,
crazy horror movie fan logic. Okay, you little faggot. I truly like it was. I already had the inkling when the scene was not situated at the beginning or the end. I'm like, beginning or end, she's probably fun, right? It was in the fucking middle of the movie, and I'm like, holy shit!
I also took my phone out to look at what time it was.
This movie did not feel like 2 hours
did not.
either. It felt like a very like tight hour and 20 minutes.
They definitely earned the like 2 hours.
Oh yes. They had action back to back. So the situating of the movie or the scene really like told me that something was gonna fucking happen, and then. When she got stabbed the first time in the shoulder, I was like, okay, that's fun.
But then when she,
with the second stab is when I was like, she's dead, she's gonna die.
I was like, but the problem is when I cry, I also get congested.
Did you cry?
Oh, I was totally crying.
Oh my gosh.
But so it meant, like I'm getting congested now because I'm getting upset thinking about it. But like when I get congested, it makes it sound like I'm like truly weeping. But I was just like this. With like, but crying, but also sniffling a lot because I was super congested. So my friend Liv was like, you were like bawling. And I was like, I really wasn't, but I was crying. But yeah, I totally, and her saying, it was like so weird, right? Because there was like 5 waves of she's dead. Oh, she's not dead. Oh God, she's dead.
There was a lot of waves of like that. Yeah, where I was like convincing myself and then I'm like, no, but she's fine. She can
like
run.
When Sam and Tara were like touching her, I was like, oh, cool. She's alive. But then she says, tell Sidney he didn't
when
get
she said
me.
tell Sidney, just those words, I was like,
she's
her last
dead.
words.
Yeah.
Her last words. He didn't get me. I'm like, but he did. He actually did.
Because like, to be fair, the only way I ever want Gale to go out is her being like, fuck you. Yeah. And like still being like not like if she has to go out, I want her going out being like fuck you,
pushing
Ghostface.
a ghost face out of a window and then both falling to their deaths, like something shit like that.
Like that is the only way I would accept a Gale death is if it's like she's still Gale and confident, not she's like weeping and like on the floor dying.
So my problem with it was like it was pretty drawn out, right? Like it had a good amount of time, but like I would have liked to have seen what they were doing before. We just kind of jumped into it,
like give us a little like more...
them hanging out because I guess that's her man, her new man.
I do think that should have just been a bodyguard because we didn't really get any of him.
Yeah,
and we didn't spend time with like Gale is getting chased immediately, right? So she doesn't have time to be like upset that her boyfriend got killed. So I feel like we should have just made it like a bodyguard
because he was just guy in background blurred out. You know, he was in a blur.
We like see his full face like twice.
If that. It would have been nice to have them sort of like in the kitchen or something, maybe walking in the door from a workout or something where they had a little bit of dialogue back and forth to each other, and we kind of got an idea of what they were doing that evening.
Yeah, I almost because like I like the idea of when she's like talking shit on the phone, that's when he's getting murdered behind her. Mm-hmm. But I almost like we could have spent a little bit more time with him, like just to like set up that he's our boyfriend.
I think so. I think that would have done really well. It just would have set the stage really nicely, right? Because we do kind of just jump into it, which is fun because we finally get our fucking Gale Ghostface phone call. It is very much just the trailer. There's not a whole lot extra that they talk about.
So the thing that I realized that I told you that I didn't tell you what it was. I knew that she didn't shoot the door fully with her gun, and I knew that wasn't, she didn't run from the moment Ghostface is there to the room. And that's just from watching the trailer and like watching it frame by frame.
What made me delete everything was I saw a split second, not even a full second, of her in the kitchen on the chase. And I was like, fucking hell, I didn't even want to see this. I didn't want to know this. But yeah, like they do a full apartment tour. I asked for an apartment tour, and we got the apartment tour.
I will say, I thought that, and when she went out on that deck, I was like, don't go on that deck.
That was it felt very Casey Becker, right? I was like, ah! don't do it.
I was like, I know what they do to gay icons on a balcony.
I'm like, that's not very far up. That's where she was. The McGraw Hill, whatever that building is. That was she was right up there. It was fucking wild. I loved that she has a really nice fucking penthouse.
Because that would make sense.
Wonderful. I'm glad she's living her life like that. She looked nice. I liked the messy ponytail too.
Yeah.
I was like super into her look for this little
Because
last.
I mean,
little
like you
bit.
said, it's like they came from working out. It's like okay for her to be like lounging or whatever, and like,
And it was very much a moment where she wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
I
To have,
mean,
like, a
she
starring-
should have been expecting the entire time. Yeah, she should have had a bodyguard. It would have made sense for her to have a
It
bodyguard.
really would make
had
sense.
this shit been happening.
yeah, or like just to have a bodyguard after 27 years
Of ghost faces? Yes, I agree, okay. The books have told her to get a bodyguard.
especially if you are wealthy, like that feels like, oh well, I can afford a bodyguard. Let me get 5.
Mm-hmm. It was, and then I need to watch it again because I'm trying to piece it together in my head. So she goes into the room, right, and she's trying to get her gun out of the safe. That was a good moment, too.
I did like that moment.
Yeah, she's trying to get the
Because
gun
I was
out
like
of the
panicked
safe.
for her. I was like, "Ugh,
I
get
was
it right."
panicked, but I knew she was gonna get it, and I was like, "She gotta have a gun. She's giving Gale Weathers." She gets the gun, and she like fires at the door. There's a couple moments where she fires at the door again. That's like unexpected, and I loved that she kind of just like does it randomly.
Yeah.
Because you just gotta go.
Because also the way the way the trailer is edited, which of course is the trailer, that's fine. She doesn't seem as smart in the chase scene, but she is fucking smart in the chase scene.
I thought she seemed smart in the chase scene.
Well, because in the trailer she
She's
empties
shooting
her
at the
gun
door.
at a door. That's not smart.
I don't know. You just empty. You just shoot. You just gotta shoot.
But like,
right?
I feel like you don't empty your gun if you don't see the person. Like, I wouldn't empty it because I'd be like, I need to shoot them when I see
Here,
them.
this is what you gotta do. Okay, you're in this situation. You go. You get yourself the gun. You go and sit in a corner where there's no windows, no doors, and you have complete line of sight. Okay, and you just sit there because they're gonna come at you at some point, and you shoot. Okay, it's you versus them, and you're gonna die or they're gonna die.
Also, wait, I gotta
Yeah.
say, the moment that I love that wasn't in the trailer is when she said, "Can you hold, please?" I fucking loved that.
Oh, I did love that,
Like-
right? And that would be like you finally get your Ghostface call with Gale, and she's as uninterested as Sidney was.
Yeah,
She's
like,
hold please.
because like I love that she knew to just call him back.
Oh my
Like that
God.
was so smart. So she knew where he was. I mean, it didn't really help her that much, but like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
I just and her just being like, "Can you hold?" and him being like, "What?" Like so good.
It was very Gale. It was very Gale, and it would have happened in any of the other movies had they actually gotten a hold of her.
Yeah. That was maybe my favorite moment from the scene, just because like that's the confidence I love. From
I
Gale
almost
and
wish
Sidney.
they would have given us just a little like fan service moment where when he first calls, and she says he says, "Who is this?" and she's like, "Gale Weathers, author of the Woodbury Murders," like in a little like sarcastic asshole tone or something like that. That would have been funny, but like it was great. I loved the balcony. I wish we would have been on the balcony a little bit longer, like a little tension with like leaning over the railing or something like that. I think would have been so fucking fun. But I love that she goes out one door and she's like throwing things. She even throws a potted plant over him. Like, Gale, muscles. Muscles, Gale. Those are heavy.
Right, that's another thing though that like it makes sense that she would be smart in a chase scene like that. Like her and Sidney have done this 1,000 times. So
I
it's
also
like-
would expect her house to be kind of set up like Laurie Strode in a way. And I'm surprised she didn't have like more.
I feel
sort
like
of,
Gale's too
guns-
glamorous to want like.
Guns hidden in fucking plants or something, right? Like fucking Tomb Raider that shit. But he like fucking he stabs the shit out of her, and it the second stab convinced me that she was gonna die,
Yeah.
and then he gets the glass, and that felt like so quick that he got
And
the
that
glass
felt
and
like a
stabbed her.
killing, like
That I felt like that was a wound, and I was like, but so they did add the line that she has a pulse, so motherfuckers don't fuck with fans, and this is where we end up in the next movie as the do not kill a character off screen, right? She didn't go to the hospital and die. She's alive. You did this. You gave her to us.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Make sure you.
I mean like I am glad Gale got her like call chase scene because like Gale's already had chase scenes and she gives good chase scene, right? And I think Gale gives a good chase scene because Gale is confident, but like it's not like she can just fist fight Ghostface. You know what I mean? Like we know she's smart. We know she like is gonna do. She's not like a stupid like girl in a stupid 80s horror movie that's like, ugh. And she's going to like tell you to fuck off the entire time.
This one or the do you prefer this one or the chase scene in 2?
I think I prefer this one just because she got the call.
Yeah.
Like I think that added to it, but I do think 2 is one of the best chase scenes.
2 is so clever too.
Yeah.
2 was just like fun and it looked interesting and it was put together really nicely. But I just love her running around a fucking penthouse. Like her penthouse.
Yes.
And glass breaking and doors breaking and then falling into a coffee table. I love shit like that.
Yeah.
So I think this is probably best 2 for me. And in addition to the call, that she also got the call.
That like really heightens it for me.
Oh, it would have been great if she'd been on the call just a little bit longer. The lights go out or something. She's trying to call downstairs for help, like a
Yeah.
doorman or something.
I also kept thinking.
I wanted to see a little bit more of her wealth because she got people to call if some shit's going down in the penthouse.
I
right?
did think like when she was in that room, like hang up and call 911.
Yeah,
Or,
that's
like
no, call downstairs. I know you have a panic button in there
That's true,
somewhere.
yeah,
right?
like-
What about a panic room, maybe?
rich people apartments have that.
I know. Shit.
We're looking out at a bunch.
If I know I'm looking at all the rich people apartments, I'm like, which one is my penthouse, right? How far does that one go up? Mine's right there. That black building right there, that like half triangle. That's that one.
I don't even know if these are all actually apartment
Who
buildings. They're probably
fucking knows?
mostly
Probably
offices.
not.
I feel like
Somebody lives there somewhere in a janitor's closet or
there was a
something.
fancy apartment around this area that I went to a housewarming party at, but I always forget which one it was, and it was very fancy, but the apartment was still tiny.
Yeah. So I loved this scene. This was probably one of my favorites of the movie.
Yeah.
It probably was my favorite of the movie.
I think
to
it
be
might
honest.
have been, but like, also I think you and I, it's like we also loved it because of Gale, right? And it's like she finally got her like moment.
Yeah. It just.
What's Alistair say? Does he ask you to
He's just like, yeah, he's just walking around. I just told him to come up, so he might just sit in the background. It was probably my favorite scene of the, and again, like this movie really does. You can take Gale out of it, and it doesn't really matter. But this movie is full of scenes that people are going to be talking about as their favorites of the franchise, and this is very much one of them, right?
Yeah, and that like so like it's like the top we were a little bit more negative, but we still like it's still really enjoyable.
I loved it overall. I loved the movie overall. I think what I would have changed, in my own headcanon, maybe I'll do this, is I would have taken out the Museum of Artifacts. I don't think Richie was deserving of that as a Ghostface. His legacy, like I don't feel like he deserved legacy like
I
that.
get it, but yeah.
I don't. I get it in terms of Sam's character,
Yeah.
and it needing to come back to haunt her, right? But I don't think he should have had all of that stuff. It would have made so much more sense for somebody connected to like past films to own shit like that, or like fucking Cult of Ghostface.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the Cult of Ghostface. Listen, I thought. I say it every movie that I think we're gonna get like 5 of them, and we never do. Okay.
You got 3. Well, we got 5. We got 5
let's
of
just
them.
do it before I die. Okay. I just want to see a Cult of Ghostfaces.
Do it before I die.
It would have made so much sense too. Like in the city, a lot of it,
Yeah.
you can like completely gather this Cult of Ghostfaces, and then in an abandoned theater, all of y'all set up all of these artifacts that you've all collected over
Okay,
time.
so that like again goes into my like felt like a later on sequel because like
Yeah.
all of that being there and then it not mattering was like, what the fuck are we doing then? Like when we got like the first inkling of like they're leaving masks, why were they leaving masks? It feels like that's like they want to keep that shit. So that's why the whole shrine is there.
Yeah.
So I kept being like, all right, but like, what is that leading to?
Also, them using the masks that were supposedly the masks from the other killers, like original masks, felt like, one, it felt like they did not deserve to wear those. And two, the weight of the masks, not like the physical weight, but like the weight of them, these being those
Importance.
masks,
Yeah.
the importance of it didn't really like land with
Yes,
me.
I
I
agree.
didn't feel like there was a lot of importance there.
That's again why like later on sequels in like 80s horror movies or like an X-Men 3 I keep going back to, like they shoehorn in the Dark Phoenix saga. She kills
Yeah.
Cyclops and that's a blip in the movie. Like that doesn't fucking matter. And that's what I kept thinking of with this movie. Like the legacy shit felt so shoehorned in because
Yeah.
it didn't matter and because those killers were just tied to Richie, which okay, sure, that's how the sequels usually work, but it felt like why
Do it in a different way.
Yeah.
Do it in a different way that, like, if you're wanting it. So this is really where my problem was, right? Like, if you're going to do a sequel as your new part of your new trilogy, new characters, all of this new story, right? That you're trying to move away from the past. Then don't bring the past back up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, keep it going, and I would have been fully fine with it. I would have
Yeah.
been fine with it being Richie's family. I would have been fine with everything. 'Cause I had no problems with any of that. I did not have any problems with any of that.
I kind of liked it.
I loved it. Where I had the problem was that it couldn't commit to just being new.
Yeah.
and not bringing up the past, right? I think if I would have taken Gale out. I would have put her scene at the end, leading into something else later. Like she didn't know that, or maybe she wasn't aware. I don't know. She wasn't aware of something that was going on or whatever. So she wasn't like really involved in the movie. And at the end, we pick up and we get her phone call and that whole scene as it plays, that would lead into some sort of third chapter or something like that, because the rest of her scenes truly did not matter. It did not matter.
No. And seeing her regress just wasn't.
It wasn't. And I'm gonna stick by that. I don't think I can be swayed. So y'all can just be pissy. They regressed her character. She left off on such a mature place in 5, and she really did and if you're going to have her regress in that way, and it's to do with trauma or whatever the hell, grief,
Which, sure, but
yes.
give us.
I mean, we love a grieving, WandaVision. But tell us why.
Yeah.
Let her explain that or something like that. Because otherwise, it just sounded like she's like, well, somebody else was going to do it. Movie rights come with the book deal.
And it's like, well, it's not like she...
Don't do that.
And also, it's not like she needed the money. She was already wealthy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's again why I felt like it was suffering from later on sequel syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of that was just and Kirby and all of that was just
I think Kirby was fine. I don't think I would have taken her out. I would have taken out the Museum of Artifacts, and I would have taken out Gale.
I would have taken Kirby out and left Gale in, and given Gale more to do. I'm speaking the truth.
Fuck Ian Carlos Crawford. But
also take one out and keep the other one in. That's how I just
think. Let it be entirely new, right? Do a legacy later. Just give us our new stuff, and then if you need to do a grand finale or something like that, that's completely cool. Because this felt like grand finale shit.
Well,
there was something finale about a museum of fucking past Ghostface artifacts, and it really, his family wasn't into the Stab franchise or anything like that. Even the killers weren't that into it. They just missed Richie, and which was fine, and that's what they could have done, right? I loved as the final battle was happening, Richie's film playing, he was a student, or he would make little short horror films and things like that. I loved that, but then make it a shrine to Richie or something, right? His movies playing as things are happening.
Because also, how did he get all that shit?
Exactly, he just would have felt more realistic had a cult of Ghostfaces come together, and each of them had little pieces and stuff that they'd collected, and they decided they were all going to do some grandmaster thing, and they could have been the toxic fan Ghostfaces. Really continue it. I don't know. Other than that, I really don't have a problem with any of it. I think it's a fun fucking movie. The finale, I guess we should talk about the finale a little bit.
I like the finale. I did.
Great shit. Would have just taken out the artifacts, right, and just left it still in a theater, playing Richie's films on the fucking screen.
Yeah,
shit
that's
like
fine.
that. And it was a fun fucking little finale playground with the balcony and Ballad. And
I thought all of the shit there was really good. I thought I loved Tara being you have to let me go, and Sam giving her the knife and letting her go. I fucking love
that. Was some Tomb Raider shit too. That was that was fun. She fell and she knew she was gonna get stabbed. She got stabbed immediately, but she was also
Ooh, when she stabbed him in the mouth,
they were doing some action hero shit, and I really loved it. I was here for it.
I liked also when they had the bricks and Sam.
Oh,
had to
I
hype up
loved
Tara.
that. I loved that they went back to back and holding the bricks, and they were ready to just fight, right? And I really loved that the killers were going around them almost like hyenas or something. Right?
That's actually because the trailer kept showing that. That's the only reason I was like, is there more than 2 Ghostface? Because it feels like if they're surrounded, it would have to be more than 2. But that thought left my brain because all I cared about was Gale. So
well, then, of course,
because I remembered that once we were in that scene, I was like, oh right.
We have 2 other characters we would like to survive also. The shot of Tara, somebody holding Tara, was hotly debated. I do remember that, and everybody's saying that it looked like Tara was smiling and doing something, that she was menacing somehow, and everybody was sure.
And you and I didn't buy it ever.
Oh, I thought she was evil. I did fully think she was evil, but I
you
didn't. That shot didn't look like a smile to me. It looked like it was a reveal that she was hurt.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't any sort of reveal. I don't know, but it was fun. It was I like their team up. I like that they, it was like a Slayer moment, you know. It was like Dawn and
That's, like,
Buffy
very much
also,
our shit.
you know? Yeah.
So the thing that bothers me, I just don't like that Kirby gets shot and is laying on the floor. Like,
And
she's
just
right
comes like
there.
I understand why she comes hobbling
Right.
out like with a wound on her head, and it's to like mislead us. But I don't think she was the. I think you said this earlier. She was not the character to mislead us.
Yes.
We didn't need that. Either make her evil and like make it a full like, because it was very clear she wasn't, but they kept doing like the sneaky
Yeah.
little boom 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 music as she would like turn away and lock something, and it was very clear that she just wasn't the killer though, or any sort of like mastermind. And then when she came walking out with a wound, I'm like, I want to see how she got the wound.
Yeah.
I want to see her fight a bitch, right?
Like, she's not, like, do that with a new character where they
Yeah.
come off screen and they've been beat up.
I
or
don't want to
whatever.
see you push a TV on somebody. I want to see you fight. You, like, go grab Jill's like shirt and strangle somebody with it, right? Go grab the knife that you were stabbed with and cut a bitch. You
Well,
know,
and, like,
something.
So that's like, I just like, Kirby's such a beloved character that it felt
Yeah.
weird to sideline her so much. And then when she gets shot, but we know she's alive, like, she's still like, I was like, is she just laying there? Because
Listen, when she was in there, when she did come in and like actively like fought against people and stuff like that, like with her gun, shooting people, whatever have you, however that played out, it worked, and it showed us that like we should have played that a little
Yes.
longer, you know, because Hayden Panettiere had the shit.
and she deserved to be in on the
She
action.
had the shit. She could have gotten in on the action, right?
Because there were 3
Yeah.
Ghostfaces. That's 3 people. Like, great. She could take the cop.
You know how Natasha Romanoff does her little like leg thing where she like wraps it around
That's what
people's
you want
neck.
Kirby to do?
I want Kirby to do that, right? I was looking at all the ghost faces as hot, and I was like, which one is the tiny one? Which one is Kirby? Her little ghost face costume.
There was a point when I was like, this Ghostface is way too strong for it to be Kirby.
It
But then I
was.
was like, Amber was Ghostface.
I was
so-
I was convinced very early on that it wasn't Kirby, and I was like, okay, I get
I
it.
will say the only time I thought it was Kirby was when the cop called her. I was like, oh shit. Like, I wasn't like, aha. I was like, oh, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That was the only time I was like, oh, I guess it is her. But then it wasn't, which I was happy about. But again, the thing I keep going back to is she gets shot right next to them. It's not like
Yeah.
she's far away. And like when they're sitting on the stage talking, I was like, is Kirby dying next to them?
And her little body just like
Yeah.
goes back. Oh,
Because they're like,
Kirby.
we'll get help. You stay here bleeding. We're going to leave.
She was a pretty iconic character, and I think it just because she had, I think if they bring her back, give her more to do, because the little bit that she did have to do, she fucking rocked it. Like, I loved the moment of her standing in front of Jill's shirt.
Yeah.
And like,
I almost
you
felt like that was
saw
too
the
quick.
flashbacks on her face.
Yeah.
I wish that would have played just a tiny bit longer. She points out the knife that she was stabbed with. I was like, deeper than anything anybody else is seeing it here.
Because
you know?
also, I don't know. Like, I do like Sam getting Billy's knife. I did actually like that. It would have been cool if Kirby got Jill.
And that what a knife looks like after it looked a little wet to me, a little fresh.
I feel like, I feel like the blood would look more black, but then it wouldn't.
Does
on
it dry
cam-
like gelatin? It looked like gelatin.
Yeah, but on camera that would have looked bad if it was like black.
no, it looked like rusty. It had a little bit of rust on it or something. I don't know. I'm just nitpicking at this point. That was cool. Billy Loomis is back.
It was. It's fine. It's fine.
So I fully expect him in the next one, because if you're going to bring him back for the trilogy, he's in the trilogy.
He's in the
now,
trilogy,
okay?
yeah.
The entire thing. Okay.
Who'd have guessed Steve
For the
Ulrich
rest
was
of
back
the
for
rest
three?
of the same movies that Sam is in, she never gets over it. I don't ever want to not see him. When he turns 60, we better see his ass in the Billy makeup.
And it's not because we love it. It's because if you're gonna do it, you
Do
gotta.
it.
You can't just go away.
That's so funny. I wish we would have seen like Stu in his reflection in the TV or something.
Okay, wait. So everyone on Twitter kept saying that, like, so Melissa Barrera spoiled Steve Ulrich being in this. Like, she said it in an interview earlier in the week, I think.
Where was he?
What?
Skeeter Ulrich. Okay.
That he's in the movie.
Yeah.
She like mentioned like, oh, she's still getting flashes of her father, is what she said in some interview. Sure, fine, whatever, I don't care. But everyone kept saying that's not the only cameo. That there was another cameo. There wasn't, was there?
I mean, again, I saw it once. And I was a little tipsy, so I've been drinking all day. Listen, I need to see it again.
I thought Zach was mad at me when he was texting me one words before we met up, but it was because he was drunk.
Not very drunk, but I still remembered it. But I was very, do you know, I had been like, so I don't know what it was, but as soon as the movie started and we like sat down, my heart was going so fast, and it wasn't because I was like excited or anything like that. I thought I was having a fucking heart attack, and I'm like, please, it would be more embarrassing to have to die in the middle of this movie theater and ruin
Jesus
everybody's
Christ.
time than actually, die. That would be worse. I don't want to be embarrassed. I'd rather just die.
Quietly die.
In the bathroom, somebody find me later. I was saying to myself, just do it after the movie. Die after the movie. Die after the movie. Because I thought something was wrong. It was like really it was a real tightness in my chest.
Probably nervous.
Maybe it was. I don't know. I was like, maybe I'm on a sugar rush or something. I don't know. So I stopped drinking my drink. I had no idea, but I don't know. This was a good fucking movie. I'm excited to see it again.
I just don't think. I don't think I would rewatch this the way I rewatch 5.
But I just had that wonderful moment of like Sidney and Gale like flipping the bitch over the countertop, and
about that all the time.
it's such a good little thing,
I'd be like, fucking hand sanitizer, like.
It was good. I love this one. I love it. I would give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm
gonna give it like a 9 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
That's fine. That's good. That's real nice.
I mean, it's like it's same thing Zach and I always say with Buffy. It's like even like the ones we don't like as much are still better than a lot of
This
those things.
franchise does not have a bad movie. It does not have a bad movie.
And I really
it
think
is so rare at 6 movies in to say that.
So rare at 26,
You know where
27
Halloween
years.
was? We were at Halloween, the curse of Michael Myers getting his niece impregnated. Okay, that's where we were in
I was
Halloween.
ready to fucking kill Zach.
I am blessed. I am been given grace by God with the Scream franchise. Okay, Ghostface is not Sidney's father getting his niece pregnant or something like that.
God.
We don't get no shit like that. So, glory be to God.
I mean, like that's what I go back to too. Like in the
Yeah.
so many of these franchises in the 80s had like 10 movies, and like 6 of them were horrendous.
Friday the 13th through the 80s had I'm pretty sure until the end of the 80s had a movie a year. They were just churning them out, and I was real surprised that we got this movie so quickly when we did, and it turned out as great as it did for the time that they had.
I mean, that I wasn't so surprised, just because even though like Scream 2 ranks lower for me, it's still good, and that was
Yeah.
that same kind of turnaround. So that's the only reason why I'm like, all right. And I guess haven't you said slashers are like easier to make budget wise? Didn't you say that?
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, horror movies in general. That's why horror movies are some of the most profitable.
But I mean, like especially a
of any
slasher
genre.
because there's no
Yeah.
like monster makeup, right?
I guess.
Or like CGI.
I guess. It just depends on like the scale and scope of it, right? I mean, this is gonna make a shit ton of money. It just is. We didn't even really talk about the bodega scene. That came really early in the fucking movie, and I didn't know what to make of that. I think the scene, what really threw me off about this entire movie was the scene placements,
Yeah.
and that kind of shook me in being like, oh, anything's gonna happen.
Because
right?
it's
Like,
wild that like
was
such
so
a public
early. Yeah.
a public thing like was so early.
And it was during the day. I thought that was a night scene.
It
was
night
during the
when they
day,
got out,
right?
wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just the lights are flashing on them when
Okay,
they walk out.
listen, yeah.
Yes, no, because goes also like
Oh, he like grabs her, didn't he?
yes,
yeah,
because that is
okay.
really abrupt
Yeah.
too, right? Like I was like, what? Like I thought that was going to be a person on Halloween joking because
Yeah.
it felt so weird.
And he fucking followed him,
Yeah.
right into the store, and just like the publicness of it all, was a little jarring. That's always scary to me.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
do.
Anything
I
like
like
that
that.
can happen.
Yeah. And I do think the bodega scene, for how much they showed us in the trailer, was still like pretty thrilling
It was still pretty tense
because it was like a
right?
lot longer.
So I think that we've got. I need to go back and watch it a couple more times because I
Alistair's gonna kill us if we don't see it.
well, I mean, just like throughout time, I think, because I'm absolutely sure that they've left nuggets for the third one in it. That I'm sure of. I would bet money on that they have put things in there for the third one.
I would like to believe that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so weak that I don't know that I would buy that they're doing that. Oh, I did like. So there were 2 different references to Stu being dead, which I really fucking loved. Then
I love that
basically
Kirby
like,
was like, well, we believe he's dead.
yeah, I love that they were like addressing like fans being crazy,
Yeah.
and I love that Kirby kills. I do like that she killed him the same way Stu died, to be like, look, this fucking kills someone. These TVs were so heavy back then.
I do sometimes feel like a little stupid for not managing my expectations, but I have never been as stupid to believe that Stu Mocker is alive.
No.
But so this is the only there is just a tiny little like hole in anybody saying that Stu could never be alive because that was the plan for 3. And so they could always reference that and saying,
But,
well,
like-
that was the plan.
But
all
also,
along.
like, there's a reason they didn't do it.
I don't fucking know, man. Great movie. I think we have run through everything though. If we haven't, well, we're gonna do like 10 more episodes on this movie. So we'll probably bring it
I'm
up.
sure
a
Zach
little
and I
bit
will still
later.
be talking about it the rest of the day.
Probably. We are back. You thought you got rid of us the first time. This is a supersized Scream episode. If you haven't gathered already, this is probably like a 2-hour plus episode for us. We just came from our second watch. We weren't sure we were going to be able to do it. I managed to convince my husband to go see it a second time. He
Poor
truly was not wanting to, but we had no other plans, and I waited until the last. I've been thinking about it all day too. I was like, I will wait till the last like second. If we don't have anything planned about like 9 o'clock, I want to go see this movie again, and I will bring that up. I'll be like, Alistair, you didn't plan nothing, baby.
I like very much poor Alistair. I was
Yes.
like, we brought it up at lunch, and he was like, not really. And I was like, I'm not bringing it up again because I don't want him to do something he doesn't want to do.
That's what it's like being married to a final forget, okay? You have to kind of just like accept that, and that's who he married, okay? This is who he married.
I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah, we just came from our second watch experience. I have to say, okay, so we did talk about this in the first half already. Is that that
Well, try not to repeat
my
yourself.
opinions change? Okay, I knew after the second watch that I was going to probably enjoy it more. Right, going into the first one, I just cannot help it. I have expectations. I watch a trailer and I kind of build up what the movie is in my head. And if it doesn't meet those expectations, it's just natural for me. I get a little disappointed. Then I go into the second watch, and I'm able to fully enjoy it. And I fucking loved this movie so much so that I think I've moved it around in my ranking. It has stayed the same for Ian. But I believe my ranking is now today, tonight, is 1, 2, 6, 4, 3, 5. That's all of it.
How did 3 drop so low for you suddenly?
It's just the day.
All right, fair.
The day, you
Fair.
know. Next time I watch it, it'll be number 1. It's just how it goes for me. Okay. Did you have what were your second viewing? You didn't have a whole lot that you
I mean,
changed a bit.
so the thing I will say about
Yeah.
like, I think like no matter what, you appreciate a movie a second time as long as it's not like horrendous.
Yeah.
I just think you do. So I don't think that makes us incorrect.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
No,
you know what I
no,
mean?
no,
Like,
no.
I think like, and I just know like, oh yeah, I can appreciate this because I was disappointed already. So I'm not
Yes.
going to be re-disappointed, but I don't think that doesn't change my opinion. I'm just like, oh, I'm not disappointed because I already was. But I still, the positives are still the positives.
Just, I do agree with all of that. I don't think our first opinions were incorrect. It's just, it's really hard for me to focus on the actual movie that they made, right? Then deconstruct my own expectations, right? It's really hard for me to do that on a first watch. And on the second watch, I truly have no expectations because I've already seen it, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you also, and we differ on this. We talked about this like on the subway ride back. Actually, so we're all over the place. But
I try to let you get your thoughts out.
just sometimes you have to, okay? Sometimes I cut it out. It might be left in. We don't know. Being in the city after watching this movie both times, like when you walk on the streets right after watching the movie, it's so fucking fun. It's like such like a great vibe. I'm like looking up at all the like skyscrapers. I'm like, which one's Gale?
Can I tell you, like,
That one.
you might not like this, but I like think
right.
it's very cute. Like, I think that's cute. Like, I
It
find that
is.
endearing.
Yes.
Because like I lived here for 10 years. I mean, I don't live here anymore, but I lived here for 10 years. So I'm like,
And I guess it's because it's different, right? Like, I grew up in subdivisions and suburbs and stuff like that, and so Woodsboro never really felt like that different. But then, like, it's new because they're in the city now, and I'm in the city right now, and I'm like, I could totally see. You know how many of those, like, because they have the little holes that like go down to the basement, right? For these shops, sometimes they're like
yeah,
holes in the
yeah,
ground. Okay, I keep passing those, and I'm like, somebody could be like being murdered down there. Katie Genevieve style, and we're just walking past right now.
Speaking of that, I did get
Yeah.
annoyed. Zach likes when people talk. I don't like people who talk, but it's
Yes.
especially annoyed me. Did you hear people being like, "Oh, everyone would have seen that"? And like,
Absolutely.
literally at dinner, we talked about this. How that is very New York. That if that was happening, that's what would happen.
Yes.
People would look and get off the subway.
Well, and there's been cases that is exactly how it happens. Okay, do you know how many times I was nervous to come to New York City before the last time in January because
It was very cute. It was-
Everybody gets stabbed in the subways and thrown on railroad cars, and nobody helps.
Outside of Stonewall, I once watched a woman trip, fall, and her skull like split open. And I will say I was drunk and very upset because like her mouth just started opening because like
Did she die?
she might have, but I ran into the bar and got like cloths to give her, but everyone else is just walking by.
That is fucking wild. See, people got their own shit going on here. It is, but I did hear those people in the theater say,
I was like, they're stupid.
That wouldn't have been. That's not real. That's not
That
real.
would absolutely
That's so
happen.
fake. That's what they kept saying. Is
Yeah.
that's so fake. That's so fake. And I'm, well, it's a fucking movie. Of course it's fake. Come on now. Alistair was like pointing things out too, and we just had to keep reminding. It's a slasher movie. It's a horror movie. Some things are
You
just
just have
stupid.
to accept.
They're
Well,
just stupid.
I don't even think it's stupid, right? Like I think it's just like
Silly. I'll go with silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Samara Weaving walking into the alleyway. It's just silly, right? Like no person in the right mind maybe would do that, but she.
Listen, I
she
told you
certainly
in
did.
Philly, those are the alleys you like walk through to get to the. Am I too far away? Is that
No,
what
you're fine.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah, I do think this second watch also the audience was a lot better for me. I really loved. And this is what I was getting around to earlier, is that we differed on this. And I love a hooting and hollering audience, especially on a second watch, because I've seen it the first time, right? I've paid attention, and now this time I'm having fun with it. And this audience was they were screaming, and they were cheering, and I didn't hear any boos, though. You heard boos.
Only at the end. I didn't.
Only at the
It
end?
was only
Okay.
when Chad was pulled out. I heard people booing.
okay.
So I was like, I wanted to be like, shut up.
It was people were like, because I knew what was coming up, and so I was kind of like, I'm like looking back at people, and they gave me all the reactions I ever could have wanted for.
Those are the people I kicked out of my movie theater when I was a manager. I'd be like, get out.
I did make sure to keep my ass quiet for my first watch, just out of respect for all of y'all, because Troy is very much like that too. He's like, do not talk. I don't want to hear nobody
You know,
say
the thing I appreciate when we hang out with Troy is that usually Troy and I are both like the bougie bitches that are like,
you have similar mindsets at times. So
I guess that's-
especially when it comes to like things like movies.
yeah, I guess that's like what attracts you to like friends.
Could be. It could be. I don't know. I like to get antsy and get up and like scream, and I very much want the stab premiere like experience.
I mean, it is in our culture for people to be taught. I yell at my mom all the time. I'm like, stop talking. And she cannot help herself.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of. Again, I really, really enjoyed it this time, and all of the things I think that bothered me, most of the things that I think that bothered me in the first watch, didn't bother me as much this time. I still really think that the museum of evidence, artifacts, all of that should have been saved because it felt so grand. It should have been saved for a grander sort of like legacy sequel, right? Yeah. This is very much a sequel to.
Yes.
For Sam,
Which is fine.
It was great. It's great. We were talking a lot about Sam on the way over here also. And I just I love her performance in this.
And like, not that it matters, but she's so hot. Jesus Christ.
Hot. And they styled her, okay? Every time her hair got a little bit sweatier and like she was sweating and like perspirating, I'm like, oh, baby.
And like the like perfect tightness of the tank top and the jeans. Ugh.
Perfect cut right there. I forgot that she like got stabbed in the shoulder too.
I forgot
so she
that
had
too.
a little bit of something there.
I want my body to look like that.
Even under the Ghostface costume, she like pulled the mask off.
Yeah, she still looked fucking
and
hot.
her hair was like very Sidney in the first one when she's like they get sweaty under the suit. And we were talking a lot about Sam and how just because we really appreciated her on the first watch, but like even more so this time. It's fun to just see her like really. Melissa Barrera is great at a like a sort of like. You know how they always say when you're pointing your gun at somebody, you need to turn it sideways. That's the kill shot. She does that with her head. I notice a lot.
Oh, you're right. She does.
And that's her kill shot head.
She does like you know what I thought of this time actually? I thought of Wanda in WandaVision when she's like,
yeah. I could see that. I could absolutely see that. And so we were talking about Sam as the anti-Sidney, and we'll kind of talk about that when we go into what we think we could do with what we could do. With Scream 7.
I was like, what are we doing?
What we could do is Scream 7.
When we make Scream 7.
Exactly. Because there's so many ideas that everybody's always like thrown out onto Sidney as far as like, oh, Sidney's going to lose it and become Ghostface and all of that. And she feels like too precious of a character that would never actually do that.
Yeah.
It
would be stupid.
As far as her character like arc, it just would not make sense in her character to do that. However, Sam is the anti-Sidney, right? She is this new final girl, and she is the one that we can take our craziest ideas out on her and let her do the craziest shit that we can come up with.
Like, I almost wouldn't mind if it was like, I'm trying to think of what I don't know that I like want her to be the killer, but I wouldn't be mad at it.
I wouldn't want her to be the killer for any reason. Like she just has the thrill of the kill.
Yeah.
I don't want anything like that. But I could totally see her like, because we've got core forward in this, and she's like, we really see her appreciation of her found family now, right? And they're all much younger than her too, but she like loves them. She's like, she feels 19
Okay,
again.
to be fair, I am older than you. I am like much older. She's probably 5 years older than them.
Whatever, the poo two.
What did you say to me in the theater?
Poo two. What?
What did you have Alistair say to me?
Oh,
Because I couldn't hear what he said. I was
something duo. I remember the word duo.
I heard the word duo.
I had to clarify the word duo for him, but I don't remember what I said.
because I felt bad. I was like, what? And I was like, don't ask what again.
I don't know. So I would love to see her, like, if she were to turn into some sort of killer, I would love to see it in a way where it's like the core four, her chosen family, or they're growing apart, right? And she's wanting to keep them back together, and so she's like, oh, well, these Ghostface murders, every time those happen, then I
don't want her killing them.
It brings us back to, but she doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
She like maybe has them injured, but at the end she's like, I would never have killed you guys, because they discover it's her.
Because she wouldn't,
she wouldn't,
like,
no.
That would be like Sidney being Ghostface. Like, it just wouldn't. Like,
but I would buy her trying to like orchestrate a new Ghostface plot in order to bring her chosen family back together, and I think that would. I would love something like that, but I don't want to see her go full like evil heart.
That's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't want her killing like Tara and Mindy and Chad. Like, I would be like, no.
She was fantastic in this. Absolutely loved her. Going back to Gale, I still think she wasn't really needed in this one, but I was able to appreciate her scenes a little bit more. Still hate the character regression. I'm not going to be sold on that. Absolutely not.
I just. So, like, Doug had said this to me, and even this viewing, I was like, there's moments when she could say, like, I lost the love of my life.
Any sort of
like,
explanation.
Just like a little,
you
right?
You could give
like,
her an extra 5 minutes to give her some
exactly.
sort of
Like, it doesn't need to be a whole long, just like a little, like, line or two.
It just felt like we were more watching. You know how Dewey in 5 is watching her on the TV, right? And it feels like we feel very far away from her because she's on TV, and we're not really getting any insight into, like, looks or, like, how she's feeling about things. And it feels like that in this movie. It doesn't feel like we are like really in her psyche until her chase scene.
Yes.
And even that, it's like, it's a chase scene, so it's not exactly like how she's feeling about, does she feel bad about writing the book? Does she feel bad about doing this or that, And
almost the one thing I thought of this time is that her and her chase scene, I mean, I guess she's talking to Ghostface, right? So she's going to be shitty, but it didn't feel like the cruel Gale we had just met earlier in the movie. It felt like the Gale we knew from like the last few movies.
It very much tracked like the whole chase scene. Again, it played and people were hooting and hollering during it, and I loved the fucking reactions to this shit. And they gave every reaction to what we gave when we first saw it. And she gets stabbed there, and they're like, "Ooh!" She gets stabbed there, and like, "Ooh!" And then the glass, and they're like, "No!"
I still cried again. And in case you didn't know, that was what I whispered to you when Alice went in the bathroom. I was like, "Well, I still cried." Like, even though I knew she was gonna live this time, I was still like, "I hate seeing Gale."
It was crazy, and it's so like swift, right? Like
the glass, especially.
There's a couple moments in this movie where I wish it would have been a little bit more swift. Like the girl, Mindy's girlfriend, crawling across the ladder. He kind of like shakes it a little too much. I wish he kind of would have just like hurried and and like pulled it out from under her or something like that. Something really swift, and because there's a lot of moments like that where there's not really a whole lot of swiftness, but with the glass, like because she steps on his head, right?
And she goes to get the knife, but
she reaches down and he immediately just.
And I mean, I know I said this already, but I just have to say it again. I really appreciate that she is not like they made sure that this was still the Gale Weathers that knows like when she reaches for the knife, because she knows that she's out of bullets, so she's like, "Fuck, let me get this knife because I'm gonna kill him." And like that's the Gale that we love. Like, she's smart, she knows what she's doing, and like she gets stabbed by the glass, so it still fucking sucks. But like it wasn't like she.
Did you notice it felt like there was an extra part? I know there wasn't, but it felt like there was an extra like beat before she says, "I feel a weak heart," or heart, like the heart pulse is weak. I was like, did they put different ones out in different theaters? I'm like, what if this not in this one?
Well, no, what I thought was I watched for it and I was like, oh yeah, that line is totally, you can see it.
It felt like an extra beat because I was really like waiting on that line. I was like, I need to hear it. I need to hear it again. Okay, we need to know Gale is alive.
And like, yeah, I do you think this time I was thinking like, I do wish she had been there for the end. Like, I think that would have maybe validated her a little more if she had a little bit of like, I don't know, like meet there.
No, because I want it to be Sam's sequel only. I think Gale was in it too much, actually. I think that would have been a perfect sort of opening and would have explained
been the
why
opening.
she's out of the game because she got injured so badly. Something like really extreme, right? And that could have even been like, because it's kind of weird that they would go after Gale anyway. Like,
I mean, I guess
she was involved.
She was
though.
involved.
She
and
was
she wrote
involved.
a book, so
Okay.
like, all right. But like, also they would have gone after Sidney.
Her ass is gone. She bought
went on
an
vacation.
island. Okay, nobody's getting to her island. Okay.
But like, I don't know. I was just trying to think of ways to like make Gale's role better if she's there.
Yeah,
Like,
I was thinking of that while we were watching, but I was able to kind of just accept it for what it is at this point because Courtney Cox is really great and Gale is great. I think that chase scene just really justifies her being in the movie to me. I'm like very fine with it.
Like I was still on the edge of like I feel like this is I mean of course I love Gale so like I'm biased but I think it's like a credit to the movie that I was still on the edge of my seat even though I knew she makes it like it was still like a thrilling chase scene.
I have to say her hairstyling was like, and I know I talked about it earlier, but like I want to like reiterate, it's so good because I love seeing her ponytail like flapping as she's like turning to run
It's
and
good
stuff
for
like
run,
that.
yeah.
It looks like again a horror look is something we look for, and that's her styling in that scene was pretty damn good.
If not that this fucking matters, but I have to always bring this up. If I could have gotten a Gale with a ponytail figure like head, I was gonna do that outfit, but I was like, she can't have her long hair. She has a ponytail in that scene.
I don't know, and this came after. Okay, so it was. Oh, I'm already losing the plot again. So we had the window scene with the ladder, and then it was.
Then they go to the shrine. Gale comes and like.
But so okay, so as far as subway window scene and Gale her chase scene, what was the ordering on that? Because it was window scene first,
Subway's after Gale.
subways after Gale. Okay,
Because Subways are on the way to the shrine for the end.
these like watching this movie, they hit so quickly back to back to back that it's just like you can barely let your breath out. You really are like on the edge of your seat.
I mean, we already said this,
whole
but
movie.
you really do earn the runtime. Like it doesn't feel
Yes,
even on second watch,
absolutely.
it still felt like pretty fast.
It was crazy. I even really liked so. Kirby, I feel the same. I was fine with her in it. I didn't have any problem with her being in it. Wig was still bad. Wig was Wig.
I don't think nobody's that bad.
Hated it. Hate it. Wig is Ghostface. But I fucking loved it. I love her in it. I love Hayden Panettiere in it. And I wish I would have seen more of a fight, you know, and how she gets the head wound. But you know what? Fine. And we've got her reintroduced. She's alive. She can come back, you know. She can come back and do shit. And you know, she was a great like legacy character to bring back because she hadn't been in any other movies, and so she fit as like she could fit into anybody's storyline, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I still don't. I still think again, it's a disservice to her to like be like, ooh, is she or is it? Like they kind of choose a plot device rather
that
than
was stupid.
more of a
Yeah,
character.
no. I still agree with that. That was stupid. And I don't like her as an FBI agent. I'm not buying it.
Like she can just be someone who's like, hey,
She could have been a professor. I did see a spoiler a long time ago that said she was a professor. Clearly wrong, right? But like I was like, I'd be down for her being a film professor.
yeah,
you
like
know, I'd be okay with it.
she's 30. That's like not like it's like.
Yeah, 29. She's
And Samara
29.
Weaving is got like how old is Samara Weaving? Isn't she your age? Like
Again, thank you for letting her use her accent. Do you know I noticed her voice like gets higher when she uses her accent?
it does
Because I was thinking to Ready or Not, and I was like, her voice is deeper in Ready or Not, isn't it? So I wonder, like, changing to an American accent if that has something to.
yeah, like if that's part of the like.
What was that? That was Scarlett Johansson.
That was me trying to do you. I just can't get my voice that
Oh
deep.
goodness! The Ghostface reveal was easier for me this time. You know what? I really liked Quinn and Ethan this time around. I thought they worked really great in tandem as like
I mean, they didn't bother me in the first watch either.
I was like, I wasn't focused on them, so I wasn't really focusing on them, and I think they played it a lot better than. His name is Dermot Mulroney, right?
Yeah.
That sounds like such a fake name, and I love him. I truly love him. Okay, Georgia Rule, love that movie.
Was he the one in that movie with Madonna?
What
Was he in that movie with Madonna?
was he?
I don't know. I thought you would know this.
I don't know.
You're the pop star,
Dermot
Stan.
Mulroney. That's a fake name. I don't know.
Anyway, moving on.
I just keep wanting to call him Dylan McDermott, and I know that's wrong. But
Yes, that is
he
wrong.
just like so I liked the brother and sister and their whole like killer duo, and especially like when they start stabbing Chad, and the theater again went wild in the way that they start stabbing him. It's just fucking crazy.
Was it you that said? I can't remember because we talked about it so much after. I can't
Yeah.
remember. Was it you that said his face? It was a little silly, the close up on his face.
So
because it is.
Which one?
Chad.
Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's great at first when they first start stabbing
Yeah.
him, but then they like do this like weird close up where he's like very stoic, and it's very much like, go on, believe in yourself, live your life.
So, and I know this is Scream, right? So I have to like again suspend our disbelief. But I just kept thinking, why don't they like throw something at them? Why don't they like jump on them while they're stabbing Chad?
The box of candies that were like 10 years old, just like
That was hard as shit.
just like throw something, They could have done anything.
And
It's
I
just-
know, like again, it's a horror movie, so they're running. But like, I just kept thinking, like, I would hope you and Alistair, if you're watching me get stabbed, wouldn't
don't
just run
know.
away.
I truly don't know how many ghost faces are there. I love that he used Kenny's camera also. I like caught that this time. I didn't catch it last time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
And he smiled for the camera, motherfucker, and that was good. And he didn't drop it. He like carried it with him as he
He
was
only threw it
running.
as like a weapon to like try to slow down.
It's
Ghostface.
It was some good stuff.
I also liked having a thing that I don't know that if I mentioned it the first time was I liked having him because we've never had someone who's like a buff dude that
Yeah.
like can punch Ghostface.
Who's capable?
Yeah.
Capable and not used as like cannon fodder for I don't know, the dumb jock. Like they even make the point that he's
Yeah.
a dumb jock. Ethan says it, but like he's really not, and he's so good. And I just loved him in this, and everybody was swooning in our theater over him. Whenever he would come on, and people would be like, the lady next to me fucking said, I don't remember what she said. She said something like "you had me at," whatever the first word he said in a sentence was. So people
Same.
were in love with him. Him and I said that the duo comment. I said that him and Tara would have made a great killer duo. I would have loved to have gotten like 15 love scenes between them, and then they're revealed to be the killers. I would have been like, that is fucking cool, and I hope they survive.
And so wait, I did want to bring.
Yeah.
Did I already bring this up? Did I bring the Melissa Barrera thing up? No.
No, go ahead.
I went to pee during the scene the first time, and this time I saw it where they're at the table and like they see the news report, and she's at the table crying, and she's like, I forget the exact wording, but something like, you don't know how much it sucks to have everyone hate you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, we know the series is meta, fucking duh, but I really like that as a commentary on like how the toxic fans treated her.
Yes.
Because it still worked in the movie too, right? Like it works for the line. It's not like
It does. There was a lot of really good exploration about like character assassination, and Sam was placed in circumstance against her will, just like just like Melissa Barrera was. Like she just took a job,
Yeah.
right, and didn't ask for any. She didn't do anything.
She didn't murder
to
our
deserve
parents, like-
any. If you ask Richie's dad, she sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she didn't do anything to deserve all of the hate that she got, right? I think it was just sort of like a little bit of shock from the fandom that she was immediately put forth as our new leading final girl, and people were not accepting of
Right.
that right away, right? And if you haven't come around to her by now, you just this is not the franchise for you anymore.
And that's
right?
okay. That's okay.
Stay in the 90s.
That's okay.
Core 4 was just really good. We talked a little bit on earlier and how it felt like Mindy was a little bit like sidelined here, but I do think that she didn't have as I would like to see the comparison of runtime between 5 and 6, because it feels still like she was out of it a little bit more, but she really had shining moments in this. Like she was so fucking funny, so fucking good. I crack up every time seeing her like keeping her distance from Ethan and then like looking over across the subway.
That I
and
felt like
telling
was
him,
me.
Look, don't look at me.
I was like, that would be me.
She's so fucking good, and her running in at the end really is such like a kicker.
So charming,
It's
right?
so good.
Like, I just. So while like I still agree that like someone should have died, it made me happy that none of the core 4 did, because like I don't want Mindy showing up.
I would never be angry that they didn't die. That's the thing, right? It just like the stakes felt lower because nobody really was dying, and it was like shocker after shocker after shocker, and then everybody lives, right? So it would have made more sense for somebody to die, but I have no complaints, and I'm very happy they'll all be in the next movie.
Right, like
Yeah.
I just think of like if Mindy had arrived and was like crying, I don't want the movie to end with like
completely fine.
Yeah.
Completely fine, right? I guess third chapter in a trilogy is. We keep saying that, but they've never really said that that's what they're doing.
I thought they did. I thought we got that because they said
did.
that.
Maybe they did. I don't remember.
I don't know. I just trust you with this shit. I'm like, yeah, Zach said that, so they said that. I don't know.
We're not news reporters here at My Bloody
So wait,
Judy.
there-
We're not looking for accuracy.
Two other things that I'm remembering. So I even thought it this time, and I was like, oh, I thought that the first time. When we first see Chad's face, he's going like this, and I forgot to mention this, but when we saw it yesterday, I was like, is he dressed as a vampire from Buffy? Because the way he's squishing his face and the way the shadows from his hat are on his face, it looks like he's in vamp makeup.
I don't know if that's what he was doing. I think that's your crazy queer
No.
brain.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying like the way he was moving his face, it just looked
Because
like
he was
it.
like, you're talking about when he's first there, right?
And he's like yelling. Yeah.
he's doing alpha dog shit.
Yeah. Like, I thought the way he scrunched his face, I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, is he dressed as a vampire from Buffy? And
A
then,
faggot would think that, right? A faggot
Right.
would think that when really he is just being like very straight bro.
my other thing is, and I did think of this the first time, and I love Mindy. I love Mindy, love Mindy, love Mindy, but I think they're like 2 steps away from her meta-ness like caving in on itself. Like, I feel like
I could see it, but they're not quite there.
they're not there, but
yet.
they're like towing the line where they're very close to
It was
like,
it was her her speech in this one to
yes,
everybody.
Yes. It was like a little too on the nose.
Yes.
And like her saying, I fucking hate this franchise is hilarious, but also I'm like, oh, I don't know. That's like looking at the camera. like,
No, I thought it was kind of good. I think that was like kind of a wink to the people who were like saying 6, number 6, and they're sitting there pouting in the theater. 6. Well, sir, did somebody dragged you in here
Like, I
to
don't
watch
see
this?
it. That's okay.
People do drag people in to see this, Alistair.
I was going to say,
Just
like you
have
did
to
with your
see it
husband.
again, yes.
Your poor husband who's walking around at midnight.
Oh no, he wouldn't sit in here though. He wouldn't sit.
We
in
told
here.
him to.
We truly did. We did not kick his ass out. I begged him to stay.
And then he said
Okay?
we were trying to make him stay.
Exactly. He's like, dude, you can't keep me in this hotel room. So he's down,
But like,
getting his dick sucked out, glory hole. I just told him, don't cheat on me unless it's somebody with a lot of money. Okay, I better get a week on a yacht out of it. Okay,
a week on a yacht? That's so weirdly specific.
I would sell my husband for a week on a yacht.
don't say sell your husband. He would be selling himself.
We had a
You don't
conversation
own him.
already. Indecent Proposal. Y'all, I watched Indecent Proposal as like a 13-year-old and didn't understand the problem. I was like, do it. $1 million. Come on, Dale.
And I told Zach that with my parents, my mom, I remember as a kid being like, why aren't they doing it? And my mom said she would do it, but my dad would not be allowed to do
You're so
it.
off topic. And this is all jokes, by the way. Y'all calm your asses down. I can already see the comments. Zach, you shouldn't say you can sell Alistair like that. It's a fucking joke. Please. He would sell me for $1 million too.
Zach would sell me for $20.
I would sell it. I would sell Ian for a beefy 5-layer burrito at Taco Bell. Okay, hand him over by his man bun to you, sir. There you go. What was her name? Mindy's love interest. I keep forgetting Anika. I guess I think it was just like first watch again. I had my focus on our characters, right? And so the new characters I really wasn't.
Because I think I
focused
did
on.
say that I liked her, right?
I fucking loved her in this, and I think she had such a great look too. And I was so bummed out this time, and I knew it was gonna happen.
And she
I
does,
was
she does give a good scream, too.
I was still so bummed out that like she died, and it always gets me when people have little pet names for each other, and as they're dying, like in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Annie and Laurie call each other baby, and so when Annie's dying, Laurie looks up and says, "Don't leave me, baby." It always gives me chills. I could get chills right now, and they were. Mindy did that as she was crawling across the ladder, and she
And Anika said, I don't want to die.
she said, "I don't want to die," or baby something. I don't know. Baby was in there a couple times, and that really got me. And I was like, "No, don't do this. Keep her around for again." Well, we needed a body count. I'm sorry, and
But her death still is the cruelest. Like, it really is the cruelest.
I don't think anything can be cruel in this franchise. You just do it. I don't give a fuck if it's cruel.
Okay, but I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying
Do it.
It's cruel. I'm just saying it was the cruelest.
It was
Because it's like, and she gave a really good scream too when she like gets stabbed and it like pulls up and she's like
Yeah.
screaming. It's like a very good
I didn't
scream.
even see that first time that he pulled up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was just like a single stab. No, he fucking like gouged her. It was a real bloody movie this time around, and I don't know how I missed it the first time, but I'm like,
I still don't know that it like everyone
it
keeps
doesn't
saying
beat the
it's-
first one.
It's just everyone keeps saying it's the bloodiest, and I really don't
Listen,
think so.
Casey Becker's entrails were hanging all over that fucking
Right.
tree. Okay, like
And Live in 4, her entrails are around the room.
exactly. You're not gonna make it more gruesome than that. You just can't do it. No. Okay, the imagery alone. Just
Yeah,
the
so
one scene.
it's just like it is brutal, but it just
Yeah.
they're all like.
Yeah, I was really upset for her.
And like,
It's funny watching Quinn just fake it again.
yeah, the thing I'm like, couldn't Anika just fall? Like, she would have died anyway. Did she have to smash her fucking head on the
Listen,
dumpster?
It was like a 3-second fall, okay? It took a while for her to get to the very bottom, so there was a fall. It was a fall. And she was like, even in the park with them when they were talking about the sequel rules, and it's just, I was like,
It is weird to think she's the only one that like died that wasn't a killer.
She was a big standout for me for the new characters, I think.
Yeah, I thought
and
she was great.
Ethan was this time as well. Quinn was, you know what, all the new characters. That's for me.
Ethan is the guy killer, right?
Evan Peters, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't remember what his name was, but
He looked even more like Evan Peters this time around.
that was, I mean, he really does. It's so weird.
I would lean into it. All the roles that nobody knew who Evan Peters was when he was that age, get those roles,
Fair.
okay? Go for those.
Fair.
I
Yeah.
end up with like young Dahmer. Terrible. Don't do that. No more Dahmer. I don't know. Yeah. It was a fun fucking watch, you know? When you realize, when you go into it knowing that it's not a legacy sequel already. And
But I
it's
mean, we had
just
fun the
kind of-
first time.
I had fun the first time, but again, expectations. I already did the whole spiel. This was just a fucking fun ride, and it's got some of my favorite moments of the entire franchise, I think.
Well, I mean, like, I think I said this in my group chat with Lewis and Stephen O'Neill, who've both been on
Yeah.
the show. I still didn't. It's still like bottom of my
Yeah.
ranking, but I do think that and 2 have like the best chase scenes.
Yes, I could have even seen. It felt really tied to Sidney, the ladder window chasing, because I could have seen it like that. Felt like it could have been in 4 with Sidney trying to get Kirby and Jill across the ladder, and Olivia last, and Olivia is the one who dies that way, right? Like it felt very.
I can see that. Yeah.
And that has like no point in any of this, but I just kept thinking that while we were watching. I was like, I could see Sydney holding a ladder, trying to get people across. Sam's fucking daddy boyfriend. Our theater was obsessed with him. When he shows up at the very end, all the cheers. Okay, nobody clapped when Kirby came on the screen for the first time, but he got all the cheers. When
they
he
did
showed
in
up
our
at the end.
first theater. They did.
I was in the bathroom. I didn't get that
I
experience.
love that you
okay?
missed the one thing that you were
Yes.
like waiting for. But you got to see it. You
I
got to
loved
see
her
it.
fucking jacket again this time.
I love a leather jacket,
It was the buckles when she was holding the gun, and I could just see the buckles.
I didn't love the
there.
buckles.
I loved the buckles,
but I still like the jacket.
bad, bad opinion.
I love a leather jacket. I miss my leather jacket. It like I had a fake one and it deteriorated. Like stuff just melted off. But she looked. I mean, I think I said this before. I think she looked fucking great.
Yeah.
I just wish she had more to do. I would have like. I don't know. Like if she's not going to partake in the final battle, I wouldn't have minded like her having like a Gale scene.
I think everything made sense except for the Museum of Artifacts. Richie wasn't collecting all that shit. I can't be sold on that. He wasn't collecting all of it. That should have been saved for something like the Cult of Ghostface or something like that, where a bunch of people who had all of these artifacts came together
And like, I was thinking about this time, how like they can use it again, but it just won't have the same effect then if they do something like that. Like, because technically we could have like, oh, those people stole the shit, right? Okay, sure, but it won't be as.
And he was a
impactful.
cop, so like he could get his hands on it. It made sense. We did like clock that. We were like, okay, so the two cops are Kirby and I'm not gonna say his name, the dad. And we were like, it's gonna be one of them because they would get the artifacts, right? Like they would be able to get all of that. So we did clock that.
We both we
yeah.
both kind of didn't love his acting as much this time, right?
No.
Yeah.
I think that's the one character that I liked even less watching it the second time. Was he already didn't really land for me the first time, and again I love him. He landed for me even less the second time. I didn't buy the. It felt like he was on another level of like crazy than the other two.
So I mean, very unpopular opinion. I love
Yeah.
Mrs. Loomis, but I do feel like he was like doing that because her performance is ridiculous, right? Like I do like it, but it is ridiculous.
There was good moments. There was a moment where it does a close up on his face and he's like struggling, like holding back tears almost. And I wish he would have leaned into that a little bit more of like grief stricken instead of just like wild, crazy Mrs. Loomis eyes.
Even when he comes out of like seeing his daughter and he's talking to Sam and he's like, kill him. And I'm like, oh, why did you do that? Like,
He didn't get the note though. Mrs. Loomis keeps her eyes open. She never blinked, not once. You know what? Okay, so like one of my favorite parts of this movie also is fucking Sam's is her full name Samantha?
Yeah.
Could say it
Yeah,
was
right?
Sam.
Doesn't Judy call
The
her
way
Samantha?
she stabs people is fucking bananas.
Oh my god! Wait, wait.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Zach, I'm so happy you brought that up because I was thinking that
I thought it the first time, and I forgot to even bring it up in that first recording. But like, I was watching it even more this time, and it is so specific.
it is. It reminds.
It's like-
It reminds me of. Did you say this before? Like Sidney and
Yeah.
her, like Buffy and Faith. Like someone said that. I don't know if it was you. And like I think that's
Yeah.
true, right? Because her fighting style is different, and I like that they do that.
It's she like brings it full back
And then goes crazy.
and then it is like you have a piece of paper, like when you were a kid and you would have a piece of paper and you would stab it and you would just look, because she doesn't. It's not like pretty stabbing, you know. It is just all over, and she stabs every inch that she can see.
Well, and that's I do like
Yeah.
that. Like with the cop, we had the like detail of she's like stabbing him here because he has a
Yeah.
the fuck is that, like a Kevlar or whatever. So she knows she can't stab that. So she's stabbing everywhere else on his body that it
And
can
now,
go
but
through.
now I can only think that she's counting her stabs because she knew exactly how many times she stabbed Richie.
That's true.
And so now I'm like, as she was stabbing Dermot Mulroney, I was like, well, she's counting these. I was counting with her. I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And you know, I like because it's me. I get like if I love something so much, I do like get a little like teary.
So it was Melissa Barrera stabbing this man. Ian's getting teary over
I
it.
got teary when she like runs at him because I'm like, fuck yeah, when she like doesn't have any bullets and
it was
she's
so
like,
good. And
Oh,
like, and
and
she
like-
kind of just goes for it. Like she's not having a moment where she's like cowering down. She's like,
yeah, she's just like, well, this is what I'm doing next.
yes.
And I love that.
I don't know how you just like weren't like just basking in the audience reaction, because they were going apeshit over this stuff. They truly were. They were like, when she lets Tara go and Tara gets stabbed and then Tara starts doing this stabbing, they're all like, fuck yeah. Like we hear it behind us, and it's just fucking wild, man. I love shit like that. And it's just
I worked in a
these are-
movie theater for 3 years in a
these are
really
the-
terrible
These are
area.
just the reactions that you're not going to get when you get home movies.
Yeah, great.
On home video.
Yeah, I don't want them.
Enjoy it in the theater, okay? And then when you can be quiet at home when you watch it at home.
I don't want anyone looking at me.
My
I don't like.
God.
That's why it was like I very much was like I want to sit next to people I know. Like I get very. I saw Avengers Endgame with coworkers, right?
Yeah.
And you know, of course, it was like completely sold out. So we ended up in like the front 3 rows, and it was like I think 6 of us. So there were 3 people behind me and 3 people in front of me that we were all coworkers. This will not shock you. I was like weeping at the end of that movie. And they were like, oh my God, are you crying? And I was like, don't look at me, shut up. Like, I don't want
I do
anyone
that
like,
to Alistair sometimes. It stops my own emotion if I can like point out that Alistair is getting teary-eyed. And so I have to do that because I don't like to cry at things like that. I don't want to.
it's just, we love it though.
I didn't even, I wish I could have had audience reaction for like Endgame and Infinity War. My husband was deployed for both of those. And so we watched them like 5 months after they were released and got nothing.
I do think that's the only time it didn't bother me. Actually, I was more annoyed at my like coworkers looking at me crying than I was at like, that was like added to my emotions.
I was just
I will
so
say.
excited over the like Twitter videos of people reacting to like, I don't know, when
I saw that movie.
all of the portals open in Endgame and everybody starts walking through and they have Avengers Assemble and everybody goes ape shit over that. I love shit like that.
So the way I watched Scream 5 when it went on Paramount Plus, that's how I watched Avengers Endgame when it went up on Disney Plus. Like I would get stoned and watch just that like end.
Yeah.
Cause like, I mean, even you liked it, right? And you're not like a hugest Marvel fan. Like I just think you can't deny that is a fucking awesome moment.
Yeah.
And that's the only time when I feel like everyone being like, oh, like as soon as you hear Falcon be like on your left.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
like,
chills, truly.
So like that's the only time it didn't bother me. Like I did, like it just added to me crying, and then I didn't want anyone looking at me. But like,
well, you know, we got a bunch of audience cheer, so I'll be able to remember those.
like I'm glad I
When-
was next to Troy and Liv, but even like I was a little embarrassed to be like teary. I was like, oh god, like this is embarrassing.
Yeah, when I remember when the first like Halloween 2018 came out, like the whole ending, people were going apeshit over that ending and just the entire thing. And so I I like to hold those little memories in the pocket, and as I'm watching them, I like to like replay them in my mind at certain parts and be like, oh, that was such a fun experience. I love that people went crazy over this part or that part.
I think that's cute. I do think it's cute that you like
I
it.
love it. I love it. And so this is. I think I gave it a 9 out of 10 last time. I think I'll stick with that this time. I don't really change my opinions all that much on it. I think like if they were going to just keep it as a completely new sequel, take out the legacy stuff. We didn't need to
We both would like it better, I think.
The masks like felt a little shoehorned in too,
Because-
right?
Why?
When they were explaining the masks and how they were all like, this mask was here, this mask was here. The first time I watched it, kind of went over my head a little bit because it went so fast, and they kind of like explained it really quickly. And this time, because I was focusing a little bit more, I got it. But like not everybody's gonna watch it a shit ton of times.
Right.
The casual horror fan
Well-
will probably go see this once.
So this has always been my gripe with 2, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before. When they give like they're mimicking the names, and then they just drop it.
That felt exactly like
Yes,
this.
and that makes me nuts when everyone's like, "No, it's like," but they drop that plot, and it drives me crazy that we have a scene of Gale, and Gale's right,
Yeah.
but like it doesn't
Something
matter.
like that should have been like, again, it felt too grand for the killer's motivations.
Yes.
And the killer's motivations, all they needed to do was play Richie's like horror films that he had
Right,
made.
because,
And I
like,
think it would have been perfectly okay there.
You and I like 5. I
Yeah.
mean, like it's one of my favorites, but like even with me ranking it number 2, Richie is not. It had to have been an older killer. Like it felt like if we're doing this, it had to have been like, oh shit, not just the last killer we saw last year. Like
Yes.
that feels like if we're going grand. Not that I want.
Richie wasn't grand enough
Yes,
to
yes.
be that important.
Yes.
It made sense if they were only sticking to this sequel and it being like Sam's past coming back to haunt her, because it is a little chilling when she first gets the call.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
sees his number pop up. That was a little bit chilling, right? But like, he didn't have any connection to any of the other stuff. You know what they should have saved that for is like leaving a fucking Scream 1 mask on Sidney's doorstep and
like Stu's mom is the killer or some shit like that.
I did think it was really cool, like, since they did bring it in, I think it was really cool that, it was kind of a call to, because you go on Facebook groups and they know the exact, like, masks per movie and, like, what generations those were and how they're different. They all look the fucking same to me. And I'm a real bad Scream fan for that.
I was going to
But
say, I figured you could tell them apart.
I cannot. I understand that one of them is, like, a lot more, like, dipped at certain points, like especially at the eyes, but for the most part, they all look the same to me. And I would rather focus on a Final Girl's outfit than I can tell you all about a shirt pattern, but
I fucking could.
the Ghostface mask. I'm like, oh, good.
The only time I did on the subway. This I didn't notice this the first time, but they do like all the Ghostface masks are like slightly different.
Oh,
on the
are
subway.
they?
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
Just some of them didn't have the dip. Some of
I
them
noticed some of the differences because we were pointing them out. And so when they were like had pictures of like Roman's mask and like I could see it there, but like put one in front of me, I probably can't identify it.
Yeah, I keep going back to like, is this the first time they've said Roman's name since 3?
Fucking good, and he had a real cute picture. I've always been in love with Roman.
But again, like it's like weird to be the first time they're even mentioning Roman.
It's
again.
because I felt like it was a little taboo in 4 to mention Roman, and then in 5 to mention 4 at all, right? It was almost like those were the lesser sequels, so we don't want to even bring. And I like that we're now embracing all of the entirety of the history.
You know, I'm a big fan of that. Like,
fucking love this movie. I cannot wait till this movie comes out on home media. I want the steelbook for it. I want to watch it over and over and over again. I feel like I will watch this one more than 5. I know you won't, but I will watch this one more than 5. It's so fun. Like, the playground of New York City was the perfect choice. They really did a fantastic job. And the movie looks fucking expensive.
it does. It really does. I being a grumpy New Yorker for 10 years, I just kept thinking this looks nothing like New York.
Now that after you said something for the first watch, the second watch, I kept going, like, there are a lot of trees.
Right,
There's
there
a lot of
are.
grass.
There are too many trees.
Because I was like, well, he's just talking about the park part, but that could have been Central Park. No, there's a lot. They walk by trees a lot in this
a
movie.
lot.
So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. Well, New York is expensive to film in, okay?
Because in Brooklyn there are
De
some trees.
Blasio.
but-
It's not De Blasio anymore, is it? Who is it? Who we have here now?
Is it Eric Adams?
Adams. Allow Scream to film, okay? It's going to be Scream the cruise ship next time.
Did you say Blainer?
Scream of
Blainer
the
things.
Seas.
Blainer Things did like a fan art thing.
Oh,
He always
really?
does like his cool photoshops, and he did like a cruise ship that's like in the shape of the knife.
Yeah.
And we had I reposted it for My Bloody Judy story, and 2 people were like, "Is this the real 7th movie?"
I fucking let him sing it. Like, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. 7's got to be like 7 is my favorite number, so 7's got to be good. 7's got to be some shit. Okay.
Did you say it's your favorite number?
Yeah. 7's a great number. It goes into my OCD though, so it's like okay. Yeah. I we hope you're like as excited as we are for this fucking movie. Tell us how many times you're gonna go see it. How many times you have seen it.
My leg is sore from the way I'm sitting.
It's just we just had to talk about it again, and so I'm gonna let Ian go home. It's pretty late right now. I need to go to sleep.
Zach had the nerve to say, "I'm going to record something again."
Because
Do
I
you
was
want to?
nervous,
And I was
like bringing it up to you. I'm like, I don't know if he because we were walking over here, and Ian was like, well, yeah, I don't know if I have like a whole bunch of new stuff to add. I kind of feel the same as I
I'm
did on my
gonna
first
sit with
watch.
you, dickhead.
And you know what? You had more to add than you did when we were talking about it walking over here. You know, so there you go. I guess we can call my husband and let him go back into the room.
I like that you looked out the window like, "Oh, we see him right there."
Right there. No, I'm just still looking for Gale. Where's Gale's building?
It's one of these.
It is. It has to be.
Well, actually, she lives on the Upper West Side. They did specifically say that. So
She did. We can zoom in because they told us her coordinates.
they did. And wait, so the friends that I went out to dinner with today, Bradley Stern said that he saw it on the Upper West Side in the Upper West Side theater, and he was like, "Wait a minute."
Like Gale.
Upper West Side makes sense because that's where I worked at the Barnes and Noble on the Upper West Side, and
Yeah.
that's where like Tina Fey was a regular and shit
Well,
like that.
so when we come back for Scream 7, it's going to be Sam in a secluded home in California in the hills.
I mean, I would fully understand if all of them were like, "We're
She's
just never."
working over Zoom, as a counselor for a hotline, a help hotline.
I keep thinking of like where, because I don't know, should they stay in New York? I feel like they would need to move again, right?
I think her character is so interesting because, and I think Tara brought up a really good point, is like Tara has a road ahead of her. She's going to get her degree. She's going to she has things to focus on. Sam is kind of like stuck and not able to really move on. And even before she was working at a damn bowling alley, right? Like it seems like I love seeing a character that's like more of a, what am I doing with my life? And because
we relate.
yeah. And I would like to see more of that, is like kind of her finding her own calling with all of this.
Yeah,
You know,
that could be that.
Murder
She's
has to
assassin.
do something with murder. Yes, she could be an assassin. I'd buy it.
I mean, but she could also be like a call center help. Like,
Maybe she tracks down other ghost faces who are like plotting stuff, and she gets to their plot before they can even enact their plot, and so she's killing all the ghost faces.
so the crazy thing I'm going to tell everyone else is Kirsten White texted me last night to be like, "Oh, my son," she's been watching the Scream movies with her son, and she was like, said they should do a movie where there's like other ghost faces and they're at odds. And I had to be like, that's a good idea. That's the fucking opening of this
you go.
movie.
There you go.
And they were seeing it tonight, so they hadn't
That's
seen
wonderful. I can't wait to see what she says
it
about
yet. I know.
it.
I'm like so excited.
Okay, well, we are going to exit here. This is it. Yeah.
What?
Well, let's exit. All right, we're gonna exit here, and we will let us know all your thoughts about the Scream 6. Where do you want it to go for Scream 7? Stay tuned for our Ghostface tier ranking, and where do you think we're going with Scream 7? We will see you next time.